Welcome everyone, and thank you for participating. As we mentioned in some of the outreach on this, we're going to be recording this so we can post it later for anyone that can't stay for the whole thing, or if you want to come back and watch it again because it's going to be that exciting. But we're really glad that you can join us. I mean, not in the past we've done these where people could come and be in a room with us. Today we're all remote in separate parts of the country, and I'm sure we have people from all around the world participating, and we're really grateful for that. But we're going to dive in. So we're hoping we can do this in about an hour, but we're all available to stick around. So we'll see how it goes, and we want to make sure that we have time to answer questions and deep dive into anything that you'd like us to cover. I'm going to share my screen now. It should be coming up. All right. Can you guys see that now? All right. So, the SEC always wants us to include these forward-looking statements. So got to hit on that. The agenda today, we're going to do, Taylor's done the welcome and intro. We're going to do a quick year-end update. So 2020 was a unique year. I think we can all agree. But we'll go through some of the company stats, performance, despite some of the headwinds. Actually, Legion M had a pretty good year. We're going to talk about what's ahead in 2021 and the method to the madness. We're going to revisit some of the things that we talked about in the earliest stage of the company. And it's actually exciting to see that things are materializing. When you start a company, you lay out a plan and you don't always know, you do the best you can. And I would say things are tracking pretty closely to what we had hoped for. So we're excited about that. David and Terri are going to go into some of our development priorities, where we have a lot of really exciting stuff to talk about there. We're doing Film Scout. If you haven't seen yet, we're doing Film Scout at Sundance. This year, Sundance is virtual, so another kind of unique way. And actually, in some respects, it might be like less of a festival because it's virtual, but in other respects, in a lot of respects, it's maybe even more this year because more people can be there and participate, even if you can't get to Park City. Mandy, of course, will have an incredible merch and licensing update. We're going to talk about the Round 7 rewards and KoreConX. And then we do have some Valour Awards. So we have 2 new Valour Award winners. And then, of course, we want to make sure that we answer questions. All right. So 2020. I think this, if you haven't seen this logo for 2020, it kind of summarizes how most people feel about this year. And we're all optimistic that
last year
is going to be a better year for humanity. But one of the things I would say, like when we started the year, everything was fine. Pretty quickly in February, it started to look like maybe, the pandemic would be kind of like, an issue. In March, it was really obviously, something to pay attention to. And one of the things that we did as a company is we took some measures to be proactive about, when you start a company and you've got, one of the biggest threats of any startup company is running out of money. And so we wanted to make sure that, if we had a prolonged pandemic, that Legion M had quickly adapted and, kind of extended our runway and did what we needed to do. And, despite all the circumstances, and I think partly because we were quick at sort of adapting to the new reality, we had actually a pretty good year. So it's actually an excellent year. So we're going to talk about some of the performance and things. And one of the things I want to do, we have, we're going to try to introduce you to everybody on the team, but I want to say a special thanks to them from, Jeff and I for hanging in there with us. We asked everybody to take a voluntary reduction in salary. It was totally optional, but just to kind of make sure that we were being a little bit like proactively conservative, and everybody agreed, and everybody's been an amazing sport, and nobody's passion or enthusiasm or anything has waned at all. In fact, so I want to take a moment to just thank all of our team because they're so incredible. I mean, this is one of the things that we're most grateful for, is that the team that we've been able to, assemble to work alongside of us on this movement is really, it's second to none. And so thank you to them. So, all right. So Michelle put together a really kick-ass little video that kind of summarizes our 2020, Legion M's 2020. So I'm going to play it. Hopefully it comes through for you. I know that Zoom might kind of compress it a little bit, but hopefully here it goes. All right. Thank you, Michelle, for putting that together. Hopefully it came through for everyone. Let's go to my next slide. So, all right. So we're gonna drop into company performance. I'm gonna hand it off to Jeff to go through how we looked from a revenue standpoint last year.
Yeah, thanks, Paul. So we're going to be filing our audited financials in a few months. It's still relatively early in 2021. So I want to point out that all the numbers that we're speaking to for 2020 are fairly preliminary and have not been audited. So those, numbers should, they'll probably go up or down a little bit. They should be pretty close. But what we wanted to just talk about was give you an idea, super high level. Like, we understand that a lot of people here are not financial analysts. We'd love to, we're happy to do a deep dive sometime into the financials. If you've never looked at our SEC filings, like, if there's ever anything you wanted to know about Legion M, just go check it out. Just go to legionm.com/investor relations, and there are literally hundreds of pages of SEC filings about our business plans and our detailed financials. But for this, we wanted to provide just a little bit of a high level overview to give you guys directionally an idea of where we're going. So first and foremost, like Paul said, like 2020 was actually a pretty good year for us. To be perfectly honest, as a small business, the fact that we're even still in business through a pandemic and an economic disruption like this, I think is pretty remarkable. But when you look at our revenue, so this is our revenue over the first 5 years of the company's history. 2016 was a partial year because we founded the company in March. But you can see like really positive growth. And I think if you consider the fact that 2017, we're highlighting the fact that that was a one-time event that we did with Stan Lee. Most of the revenue, almost all the revenue that year came from that one event. You can clearly see that we have a very good trajectory going. And the fact that in 2020, we had our best year yet from a revenue standpoint. And if you go one slide further, Paul, one interesting just little side note to that is we had a $150,000 payment that was related to one of our films. And, one of the challenges with our business is the fact that the revenue from it can be very lumpy. So for example, in this case, we made an investment literally a year or two ago, and we finally got a portion of our return, which was $150,000. It ended up coming, in the first week or two of January. But had that been 2 weeks earlier, that would have been added to the 2020 revenue, and it would have looked even better, which would be great. Like, we would have been pretty close to $1 million in revenue in 2020. But the nice thing about this is it gives us a nice head start on 2021. So Paul, I don't know if there's anything you wanted to add.
No,
Oh,
I would just say, the revenues to the lumpiness aspect. I mean, a lot of it obviously has to do with when we release the film. And because of the pandemic, Save Yourselves got pushed a little bit later. Arch Enemy also, actually, we ended up moving that one up a little bit, but that was, a payment that, it was actually due, but then, based on the payment terms, it came in, just over the hump in January.
yeah.
So, yeah, it's good.
So bottom line, the revenue's pointed in the right direction. Paul, if you want to go ahead and index to the next slide. I think if you look at where the revenue came from, I think this is where kind of the power of what we're doing really kind of shows itself. We talk all the time about a flywheel and using that analogy for companies or for a company like Legion M, and the idea that you're investing in getting that flywheel turning, and it's really hard and it's really slow progress. But once you can get that flywheel up to speed, it becomes unstoppable, and it starts just generating, it's got so much momentum that it's got inertia of its own. And so what this chart represents is all of the different accumulating revenue streams that Legion M is collecting. So the little black boxes, those are kind of either one-time events or projects that, some of our projects have kind of a defined start and an end. So like Colossal Stanley, like we know how much we made on those projects. We're not expecting any more revenue from those projects. A lot of our other projects, like if you look at Mandy or Memory, those are things that we have literally revenue streams that will extend for decades. I mean, ostensibly in perpetuity for a lot of the stuff that we're involved with. And so I think that what we're seeing is that, like I said, in 2017, we had one big event, which was the Stan Lee tribute. And that was great because it brought in a couple $100,000. But now, we're closing in on $1 million. And it's not one thing. It's a bunch of little things that are all adding up. So in 2021 and moving forward, we hope to be adding more and more and more to this so that, our flywheel grows and grows and grows. Paul, you want to?
Yep.
Okay, so that's the revenue side. So let's look at the expenses side. And, I would say in my experience, I don't know if Paul would agree with this, but managing expenses and managing burn, I think, is one of the most fundamental challenges of running a startup. Because, if you think about it, your money that we've raised from investors like you, it's like we're in an airplane, right? And that money is the fuel that's in our tank. And so it's very easy to imagine, okay, well, if you run out of money, if your airplane runs out of fuel, it's going to go down and it's not going to end well. But the other thing that a lot of people don't consider is that if you don't climb fast enough in an airplane, there's inevitably going to be a mountain range that comes up before you. And that could be a competitor. It could be a disruption. Like you can't just trickle along forever. You've got to be able to grow. And so, I've seen Paul and I founded our first company over 20 years ago. And so, we've seen companies that have run out of fuel and crashed spectacularly, but we've also seen the companies that were underfunded or couldn't raise the funding and ended up, dying that way. And so, I think this is something that we spend a lot of time and a lot of focus on. We are very pro-growth. Like this is a moonshot. I've got a couple slides that are going to talk about that. But in 2020, like this is the analogy of like suddenly from out of the blue, a pterodactyl attacks and latches onto the top of your airplane, and you've got to like try and fight it off, and keep the plane in the air. And I feel like that's kind of like what 2020 was. And so, like Paul said earlier, in March, April, we took a really close look at this and said, like, let's be cautious. We are more than happy to double down and we want to go large when it's time to go large. But 2020, when the pandemic was hitting, we thought this is kind of a year that we need to take steps. And so we cut every extraneous expense that we could. Like Paul said, the entire staff offered to take a pay cut. So that we could make sure that our airplane has enough runway to succeed. And I think that we're really proud of this number. And, we're hoping that in 2021, as things turn around, we can get back on the throttle. But like I said, the fact that we survived 2020 is is a victory compared to most other small businesses on the planet.
One thing worth pointing out on this slide is, a lot of the expenses, obviously there was less travel. We weren't going to Comic-Cons and doing some of these things. The other element is, we weren't spending the same way we have been historically on marketing. And so, we also didn't grow this past year the way we had in previous years. And so that's something that, as Jeff mentioned, as the pandemic starts to look like we have a light at the end of the tunnel, we're ready, and we're already starting to kind of, rev up the growth engine again. And you'll see in our objectives that's stated.
That's right. By the way, I just saw in the chat a question from Jeff Hoagland as to whether that salary cuts that we took, whether that was deferred salary or foregone salary. And the answer is it's foregone. It's not deferred, right? When you defer salary, that adds now an obligation on your book, something that you have to pay. Instead, what we did was we gave the staff, not Paul and I, but we gave everybody else that cut their salary some stock options to compensate it. So, I think if you look at Legion M, pretty much everybody working at Legion M is literally in the exact same boat as all of our investors are, in that our upside with this company is the value of that stock. So anyway, if you want to go ahead and move on to the next, slide.
Absolutely.
So when you add those two together, so the revenue that we made and you subtract from it our expenses, this shows you what our net profit or loss is. And so again, like as you can see, as a result of increasing revenue and substantially decreasing expenses, we had, one of our best years as far as, conserving cash and moving things forward. And at this point, I want to just kind of this is the last of kind of the financial results slides, but I wanted to just take a moment and dig in a little bit on kind of what this means, because, we do occasionally, actually, if you can go back one slide just for a second, Paul. We do occasionally get people that ask questions like, wait a second, you guys lost $3.5 million in 2019. You've never made a profit. Like, this is a terrible investment. And, the actual fact is that, that's coming from someone, it's a perfectly reasonable question and assumption, but it's coming from someone that doesn't have experience dealing with startups. Because, if you're a mature company like Disney or Apple and you're showing losses, that's a real warning sign, because that shows that your business is not operating well. When you're a startup or an early stage business like Legion M, that is literally the playing field that everybody's on. Because if you think about it, you start off with a startup company, you have absolutely nothing, and you need to invest to build a business. And that investment might be trying to build a factory. It might be hiring a tech team to build a product. In our case, it's building a legion of fan investors and investing in these projects that we think are going to bear fruit in the future. And so startups always operate kind of like at a loss. And so to give you some perspective, if you want to flip to the next slide, all of our losses over the entire history of the company at this point are about 10 million. That's the investment that we have made in Legion M as a company. So if you wanted to compare that to something, if you wanted to go out and start a Wendy's franchise, you're looking at investing about 2.75 million, to get the property, to secure the franchise, to build out your little Wendy's. And then you would be starting from that place with a $2.75 million hole and trying to dig your way out. By the way, the numbers for the franchises are relatively rough. Obviously, it depends on whether your Wendy's is going in downtown Manhattan or rural, Arkansas. But anyway, so the point is that if we had went out and pitched this as the world's first fan-owned chain of Wendy's franchises, at this point, we would be looking at finishing our fourth franchise, which would be really exciting, which would give us like 0.06% market share of the overall Wendy's, market. So
I'm surprised we're not talking about Arby's, frankly.
I know. I chose Wendy's because the math was a little bit cleaner. But anyway, if you flip the next slide. So to give you some perspective, we're not aiming to build a Wendy's or even, a chain of Wendy's. Like our goal is to create one of the most influential companies in Hollywood. And something that could have enormous value, far more than a chain of Wendy's restaurants. And so, our ultimate, like a really critical milestone for us is going to be when we go public as a company. And so, this is when companies go public, that's historically when the first time that you or I or anybody, outside of the kind of the top couple percent of the population have the opportunity to invest. And if you look at 2019, the median company, right? So not the highest, not the lowest, it's the middlest. If you could choose the company exactly in the middle, that company raised $146 million before it IPO'd. And so, the fact that we've raised $10 million still shows that we are very early stage as a company. And if you flip to the next slide and you want to see an even more mind-boggling chart, we can add Uber to this chart. Uber IPO'd in 2019. And it's such a fascinating case study because Uber had raised 20 billion with a B dollars before it IPO'd. It was it had never turned a profit in its life. So, the same way that we were showing losses for our first 5 years, Uber was showing those same losses, but it was losing literally billions of dollars a quarter when it IPO'd. And when it IPO'd, it became one of the most valuable companies on the planet. And so it just goes to show, I mean, it's not to say that it's not, there's cause and correlation, right? And so it's not to say that, the more money that you raise, the more you're successful you're going to be or anything like that. But the point is that when you're evaluating a startup, it's not as much the magnitude of, the investment that's being made. It's kind of the relationship between the magnitude of the investment that you're making and the magnitude of the opportunity that you're chasing. Because if your goal is to get a Wendy's franchise and make a little bit of money, then 2.75 is the right amount to raise to do that. But if your goal is to revolutionize transportation on a worldwide scale, the way that Uber has, you need a lot more money because it's just a lot bigger shot. Anyway, so that's really kind of the end of it. This is the little segment we like to call Startups 101. And it's just, it's a way, because like I said, most people, a lot of folks are not fluent with investing, and almost no one is fluent, like a very small percentage are fluent with investing in startups. But it's a very interesting and dynamic portion of the economy. Happy to answer more questions about that kind of when we get to the end. And we also, at some point might do a little sub presentation that talks about other aspects of investing in startups if folks are interested.
Yeah, and one thing just to add to that, as a reminder, and for those of you, hopefully for the investors anyway, you've read enough of our materials that that our long-term goal, like our mission, is to unite 1 million investors to co-own the company. That's in our logo. It's the Legion M with the bar over it. And so as Jeff mentions this, one of the things that we want to remind everyone is we're very ambitious with we don't see this company as just, another entertainment company that, a few people would have heard of and has produced maybe a few movies. We feel like this is an opportunity to create something that is a household name and, create some of the best content on the planet and, takes advantage of the opportunity in front of us to go out and create this unique company. And we've already seen the signs of it. We've seen the value of it, and we've seen how valuable it is as a company for ourselves and for our projects, but we've also seen how attractive it is to other creators and filmmakers and directors and distributors and everybody else in the industry that's looking to us and thinking, okay, this is a company that we should be working with.
Yep. Totally agree. Yeah, this is one last slide. And again, this is a really critical slide for Legion M. And this is probably the one that we collectively think about the most and focus on the most as a company, which is how can we grow our investor base? How can we grow the size of the community? We believe that our community, the size of that community and the strength of that community is the most important asset that we've got. And we are incredibly thankful, I think, that we entered this period of 2020 and everything that happened with a very substantial community. Like when you talk about that idea of a plane and trying to get far enough off the ground, I think that, you know, had we not had 25,000 investors in the company, it would have been far, far, far more difficult for us to survive, because
we were just starting it now.
Yeah, because we've seen firsthand, you know, when you look at our deals and you look at our growth, the bigger we get, the better the deal that we're able to get in, the better the terms that we're able to negotiate in. You know, it used to be when we first started off, for us to get involved with a movie, we had to put money into that movie. Like we had to invest in it to have any sort of stake in it. Now we're actually in the reverse spot where people will come to us and they will offer to pay us and give us a stake in the movie in exchange for us partnering with them to release it. And so it's, you know, that's all a function of the size of our community and the demonstrated power that it has. And so anyway, so in 2020, again, it was a very unique year. I think it was so challenging on so many levels. You know, as Paul said, we grew very conservative with how we were going to spend our money during this period. We also, things that we naturally use to recruit, like going to Comic-Cons and film festivals and that sort of thing, were not on the table. And even some of the online marketing that we would typically do didn't feel right when when people were facing the troubles that they were facing, you know.
Historic unemployment. We also had a lot of election, you know, competition in the ad buying. And so we just wanted to be, you know, careful and conservative and appropriate.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. You know, when we're running ads and doing marketing on Facebook, like we look at that stuff very closely, and we'll spend if we can get a decent return on it and we know that it's being effective. But it's very different to be spending Facebook money now, for example, than during a Democratic primary or during a general election where people are putting literally, I mean, what did they spend this year? It was billions of dollars, you know, worth of collective marketing. So, you know, we started, you know, 2019 was an amazing year, and we've had such great traction. You know, we grew in 2020, and, you know, for us, this is what we are focused on. We're hoping that in 2021, as, you know, things start to stabilize, that we're going to be able to kind of resume some of that growth that we were seeing before, especially because we also have a much better financial story too. You know, if you go back a couple of years ago, Legion M was just an idea, and it was, you know, but now that we've shown what we can do, now that we've shown that we can generate revenue from it, now that we're able to show the sort of revenue growth, I think that from an investment standpoint, it kind of opens us up to a lot of people that might not have considered it before.
Actually, a lot of that's reflected in the, you know, the investors that are coming on board. You know, we frequently, because we see they write us a little note and, you know, express their excitement or, you know, what led them into it. And what we're seeing a lot of now is people saying, I've been tracking you guys for the last couple of years and I like what I see, and I'm now ready to make a move. All right. Yeah. So as Jeff mentioned, you know, one of our goals is obviously growth. It's always, you know, it's always probably our top priority. And so, you know, many people ask us, well, what can I do to help? How can I make a difference? And, you know, first and foremost, if you're an investor already, add us to your safe senders email list so that we can make sure that you're getting information from us. And so when we are releasing a movie or announcing an exciting deal on, you know, a development project, or we have a new cast announcement, we want to be able to share that information. We want to make sure it gets to you. And, you know, with all the email spam out there these days, a lot of messages end up in that kind of clutter and in the spam filters. So make sure that we're on your safe senders list. Add us to your favorite social platform. We're on pretty much every platform. We're not super big on TikTok yet, but I know Taylor and I have ambitions to get there.
Paul really wants to be a TikTok star.
Yeah, I want to be a TikTok superstar. That's my goal in life.
Get some moves going.
Just so my kids can find us. And also join the Facebook group. You know, let your voice be heard in there. That's a pretty active group. We're all in there frequently, and you know, we put polls up in different ways for you to, you know, interact. And also, if you come across something or a news article or something that you think's interesting, we'd love to hear about it in there. And watch our films. You know, if you haven't seen all of our films, you know, what are you waiting for? This pandemic has been, you know, wonderful for, you know, staying home and watching movies. And so we've got a whole bunch of them out there. You can pretty much find them on any platform. And, you know, we noticed that when we did the Impulse, you know, many people have watched a lot of our films, but there's still, you know, like a decent percentage of people that are, oh yeah, I still need to watch that movie. So get out there and do that. Also become a film scout. I think this is one of the most innovative things that we're doing in the industry that we get a lot of really positive feedback on. And I think we're kind of doing something very innovative there that is also, it's a fun thing to participate in, but it's also a really smart business move for Legion M. And, you know, we've got a good track record now with Memory and Save Yourselves. And, you know, this year we'll talk about it later, but Sundance is virtual, so there's no excuse. Anybody can participate. You can do Sundance on your own couch. And the last thing, you know, we're always really careful about, you know, guiding or asking you to like recruit your friends to invest in Legion M. And so, you know, there's two things I'll say to that. One, we allow people to join for free. So if you want, I mean, if you're willing, we'd love it if you told two of your coolest friends about Legion M. And
only the cool friends.
Yeah, only the coolest ones. But you don't even need them to like invest. Just say, hey, check it out. You can join for free. And if you like it, you know, then you can make that decision. And even if you never invest, it's something, you know, really fun to be involved in. And so most of you probably know you've got your friends group, and I don't want to assume that you're not already doing. We know a lot of you are, but if you're wondering what you can do to help, that is an impact that our community can have. The bigger we get, the more expansive we can become, because you know we have more people telling and inviting their friends. All right, so what's ahead? So we're pretty darn excited about 2021. I know I speak for myself and the rest of the team that we really feel like we're approaching that inflection point. You know, we've talked, Jeff mentioned it earlier, and we did in one of our earlier deep dives in a kind of Startup 101. We did an overview on what the flywheel is, and this comes from Jim Collins' book, Good to Great, which is an incredible book. If you haven't read it, it's really worthwhile, especially as an entrepreneur or business owner. But the idea is that we're investing in our community, and that community is our flywheel. And that flywheel is what gives us the competitive and sustaining advantages. It's why we're able to go find a film at Sundance last year and get involved without having to invest in it and participate in the upside. It's because we've invested in our flywheel and the thing that makes us attractive. And as we do that and the flywheel goes faster, you know, the access to the projects gets bigger, the better the terms get, the less risk we take on, the better odds. And then everything kind of feeds the flywheel to make it go faster. So I don't even know how many years ago it was, but we have not edited this slide since we first presented it. And I think it was probably three or maybe 4 years ago. And this is a slide that we put out there to say, you know, we wanted to explain like, what is the method to the madness? Like we obviously have a very ambitious goal, and we have, you know, something really aspirational that we want to accomplish. And so we needed to break it down into practical things that we can do and steps, almost like a stepping stone strategy. you know, and we did that. Like when we first introduced the company, it was just me and Jeff, and you know, we didn't have any projects, and you know, we just had to like wave our hands and do the best that we could. But in that phase, it was all about just getting it out there and growing that core early community. And now we're kind of expanding. So we've been through phase one. We're now, frankly, like through phase two. And what's so exciting is that we're now entering phase three. And this is one of the things that we've been so excited to have, is the ability to incubate and own our own projects. So in these earlier phases, a lot of the projects that we were getting involved in are, you know, partner projects, or, you know, acquiring a project at a finished project. And we're going to continue to do that, by the way. Everything that we've done before, you know, is still relevant for us as we go forward. But one of the things that we're so excited about, and you're going to hear more about, is developing our own projects. And so that's why you've seen an increase in the projects that we're developing ourselves, the IP that we own, the scripts that we're producing. And one of the great things about these projects is that they give us more control. We can have more people from our community involved in the making of the film. We can have more people involved in, you know, being on set, or, you know, like we were able to do that with Arch Enemy, and, you know, get, you know, one of our investors' cars in the movie, and to have, you know, Legion M investors and members as extras and having a role in the movie. And we want to do more of that. And so, Terri, I'll leave that for Terri and David to expand on, but it's one of the things that for me personally, like when we started the company, it was a discipline for us not to spend all of our time trying to do that. We could have done that and we might have made it, but we needed to sort of ladder up. And so when we look at kind of each one of these phases, gets us to a point where actually developing our own projects is a totally reasonable exercise, and something that we're willing to make some commitments on, you know. And the amount of projects that we have in our development slate is expanding, but also the quality and the viability of those projects is, you know, beyond anything that we've had in the past. So we want to, in 2021, our goals are to continue the aggressive expansion of that. We're going to continue to add more projects to our slate, both in movies and TV. We're ready to commit that we want to finance and produce at least one movie from our slate, and possibly more. We also want to sell into production at least one of our TV series, and I'll let Terri and David talk about it, but we have some exciting stuff that's happening there. We'll continue to source partnerships. We've kicked off Film Scout again, so we'd love to find a movie at Sundance 2021 that we can lean in on. So we're going to be looking to you guys to help us find that film, that hidden gem at Sundance. That's the perfect film for Legion M. And then we'll continue to level up on our projects, relationships, and industry credibility. And as we mentioned before, doubling down on growth, getting back into, investing in that growth and growing our community. And we'll be asking for your help there. So, be on the lookout. All right. So I think the next phase is development. And Terri and David, are you guys ready for this?
We are ready.
All right. Well, you guys say the word, and I will be your Vanna White here. And want to buy a vowel, just let me know.
Yes, please. Next slide. Hi, everyone. I'm Terri Luberoff. I'm COO and Head of Content.
And I'm David Baxter, Vice President of Development. And we're going to give you a quick update into one of the most exciting aspects of Legion M, our project.
But first, as Paul was talking about earlier, we'd love to give you a little context. Legion M's strategy has been to partner with the most innovative creatives and companies in the business. From the kernel of an idea to release and beyond, we wanted to learn as much about the business as possible, which taught us ways that a fan-owned company can take advantage of the system that's currently in place in Hollywood. and also illustrated areas where we can do things differently. Phase 1 of our growth has helped us better understand our brand through platforms like Impulse and Film Scout, which you guys tell us what you're interested in, and we go out and look for those things. It also helped us develop key talent relationships, do market testing of projects with our own community and beyond, and create trusted business relationships by proving ourselves through hard work and innovation. Basically, we needed to gain a 30,000-foot view of the business as a whole to understand where Legion M is going to fit in the future.
We have a look at the next slide, please. So before we dive into our upcoming projects, let's take a short look back at some of our awesome past projects. Up on the left, you'll see Colossal. It was our very first feature film, starred Anne Hathaway and Jason Sudeikis. This film really set the stage for Legion M's brand of elevated genre and established our strong relationship with Neon, one of the top indie distributors. A couple more past is Bad Samaritan, the first thriller, which starred David Tennant, the Eighth Doctor, and Robbie Sheehan, Klaus from the Umbrella Academy. This was a fabulous project for us because we started a great relationship with the director, Dean Devlin, who you guys probably know from Independence Day, Stargate, Godzilla, and now Librarians. Couple more down, Mandy. Mandy is the revenge thriller by visionary director Panos Cosmatos. It was a major win for Legion M. It starred Nick Cage in one of his most iconic and well-reviewed performances, and it began our relationship with Spectre Vision, Elijah Wood's indie production company. Just below that, you can see Girl with No Name. It was our very first comic book, and it was based on a screenplay we're currently developing into a film. It was one of the most backed comics ever on Kickstarter, and actually ended up influencing the final screenplay for our upcoming film, which we are now just starting to cast. Very exciting. Next to it is Memory. This was our documentary about the making of the classic movie Alien, and it was actually identified using our Film Scout app that Paul had referenced earlier at Sundance, and we teamed with Screen Media to actually distribute the film ourselves. That was the first time that we went through that process of distribution. You probably all know about Jay and Silent Bob. Jay and Silent Bob Rubo was our very first comedy and one of our most successful films. Before we got involved with the film, though, we had actually asked our community, you guys, what directors you wanted us to work with. And Kevin Smith was at the top of the list. Another great case of tapping into the hive mind of Legion M to help guide our business decisions. So thank you all. That really worked out. It was also the first time that Legion M members got to actually be extras in the film. There's a whole sequence during a faux Comic-Con where you might see some people you know. Next to that, the Left Right Game was our first podcast, and it starred Tessa Thompson in a very Twilight Zone-ish story about a reporter who's drawn into a different dimension on her search for the truth. And, you know, podcasts are something that we're really interested in. And, you know, because we feel that entertainment works in many different ways: television, film, now podcasts. Can we go to the next slide? Yep. Yes, maybe not. There we go. Our two most recent projects.
It seems like there's a delay. I did it like several seconds ago. It might just take a minute to show up.
All right, Vanna.
I'm going to try to anticipate when to do it next.
Our two most recent projects, Save Yourselves and Arch Enemy, were both high points for Legion M for different reasons. Like Memory, Legion M members and investors identified Save Yourselves, a comedy about the end of the world, as the top film that they wanted to watch at Sundance with our Film Scout app. This was last year. The film was bought by Bleecker Street, a very well-respected distributor, who we, because we already had an audience for them, managed to team up to help promote the film in the midst of the pandemic, which was no easy task. Bleecker had never really done anything in the sci-fi space, and they really felt we helped them navigate the world of fandom. Now, Bleecker is the go-to distributor for us to work with in the future, and that's really exciting because we love the films they've done in the past. Now, Arch Enemy, very special film. Not only does it explore and deconstruct the superhero film genre, which our community loves, it gave us a chance to work with Spectre Vision again and in specifically actor Joe Manganiello, who you probably know from True Blood and Magic Mike. Our timing was also unique because we got involved at the early script stage of development. And we were able to work with the director, Adam Egypt Mortimer, to find ways to involve the Legion directly in the production of the film. This included having members as background actors, like we did with the reboot, Jay and Silent Bob, but we even got to use one of our members' muscle cars, and it became the hero car of the movie. And we're really, really proud of this one because it also, like Mandy, combined live action and animation, which are, we're interested in both realms. Terri?
Yeah, great, David. Thank you. Next slide, please. Paul, I'm stretching. Oh, wow, that was really fast. Thank you. Like David said, we're extremely proud of, yep, that one. We're extremely proud of our past work and how we've been able to open the gates to Hollywood so far. That's our constant motto, but we feel like we've just been scratching the surface. Our next step is to ramp up internal development. Now, quick primer on Hollywood 101. Development is the term that we use when we're describing bringing in new projects and getting them ready for production. It's when we take the kernel of an idea and create an entire universe around it. And we hire the writer, we come up with a take, we write scripts, and then we go put those projects together. It's time intensive, but with the right relationships and the right pitch, it can be incredibly rewarding. There are many advantages for Legion M developing our own projects. We maintain control over creative and business decisions. We can build a slate with a strategic eye to the future. As we know, content is king. And when you own your own IP, you can exploit that IP in many, many different ways, whether you do a feature film and a comic book and a mobile game or a podcast and a TV series. The possibilities really are endless. We can also expand the Legion's involvement in things like casting and production, set visits, and premieres. And when we control a project, we can do it the Legion M way.
People often ask us, when will you cast more Legion M members as extras or invite to the set? Well, as we develop our own projects, as Terri said, it just gives us more control over those types of activities. And as soon as we're out of the pandemic, we hope to involve our community much more, hopefully in our next big project.
So to give you guys a little perspective about how we're moving forward, from 2016 to 2019, we had a total of 14 projects in development, that's not counting the ones that have already released. So we had one virtual reality project, which was Icons Face to Face with Stanley and Kevin Smith, which we're still working on. We had 8 unscripted TV series. We had 4 narrative TV series. A narrative means that it's scripted. So that includes projects like Malice and Evermore and Airship Cowboys, which we have announced in the past. And we had 2 feature film projects. So 14 projects in development from 2016 to 2019. In 2020, we more than doubled that slate. We now have almost 30 projects in various stages of development, including 4 new feature films, 5 new narrative TV series, 5 new unscripted TV series, and even a live stage play, which we're developing for Broadway.
So cool. We're working on original scripts, comic books, and books, and we're so excited about the caliber of partners and the creatives we've been able to partner with.
So if 2020 represented the year that allowed us to take on a more robust development slate, we were able to do that primarily because of our past work. Now we have the ability to call our partners to help with financing, production, and distribution. And that allows us to be the most innovative, creative partners possible. So to give you a little taste, I should say, of what we're working on. Next slide, Paul.
Be coming.
This is a grand overview of the genres and the types of projects that we're currently working on. Now, unfortunately, we're not able to announce every single project today. We have plans over the next several months to announce most of these. So keep an eye out to your emails and Facebook, because we'll definitely be letting you know more specifics about each of these projects. But I'm going to start with the middle slide on the TV side. We are working on 2 adult animated series that are adapted from novels. Those novels you're already aware of. They're called The Emperor's Blades is one set of novels, which is a series of fantasy novels, which are amazing. And the other one is Ghosts of Manhattan. Ghosts of Manhattan is kind of an alternative history, sci-fi, Lovecraftian, really another really awesome one. On both of those projects, we partnered with Powerhouse Animation. They're our studio on both of these, and they're the amazing animation studio behind Blood of Zeus and Castlevania. So if you have Netflix and you've watched those shows, that's the caliber of adult animation that we're looking to do. So we're very proud of our work on those, and we'll continue to move those forward. We're also continuing our work on projects like Malice, Evermore, and Airship Cowboys. We're working on a fantastic sci-fi comedy series. We're working on a travelogue series. We have an awesome nerd-oriented game show with the producer of The Wall that our entire staff is involved in developing. And that's been a lot of fun and very challenging and rewarding. And we're working on several other unscripted series, including continuing development on previously announced projects like Drive, The Accelerator, and Upside. We're working on other projects having to do with the special effects industry and other projects that, you know, hopefully will allow us to open the gates to Hollywood for the viewers as investors in the projects. On the feature film side, we're continuing to package and cast Girl with No Name. We are working on a period action heist film that was exposed to us by our members only Facebook group, who said it was a movie that we absolutely had to do, and we agreed. We'll be talking about that more specifically with everybody in the next month or so. We're working on a fantastic true crime thriller that one of our very own Legion M investors brought into us. He wrote it, is producing it, and will direct it. We're very excited about that project, which again, we'll announce in the next few months formally. We're adapting a fantastic comic book from a very well-known artist into a feature film, and we already have an A-list writer attached to that. We're working on a terrific female-led action script and several new horror ideas. Finally, we're working on a trippy new sci-fi film that we're announcing exclusively to you, our investors and members, right here, right now. You guys get to hear it first. Drum roll, please. Announcing Jelly.
It's called Jelly. So guys, I have to say, when we got this script, when this script came in, we all read it and we were like, what did we just read? It was one of those screenplays it's really one in a million. When you've got something that you just have no idea what's going to happen next, and it continually surprises you, that's what we look for. This film is a true mashup of all our favorite genres, sci-fi, horror, and comedy. It's set on a space station warehouse where a single forklift operator is tasked with organizing an endless supply of mysterious boxes. Then he starts to notice strange things and begins to fear he's not alone. And more profoundly, that the life he's living isn't what it appears to be at all. I guess if you were to find sort of a comparable movie, think about Get Out or Moon or Ex Machina, perhaps with a dash of Napoleon Dynamite thrown in. It's got some fun elements to it. It also has some interesting anime elements to it. It explores themes of existential dread, freedom, responsibility, phenomenology, and love. We're extremely proud and happy to be working with our partners on this. We have co-directors Suki Kaiser and Jonathan Scarf, who you may know from the Van Helsing television series. And the producers, Jane Fleming and Mark Rodesky of Port 5, who did The Quest, which was a big ABC show. They're amazing people. The script is ready to be shot. We're midst of casting the film. We're going out to some fantastic actors, and we can't wait to make some big announcements soon. But until then, that wraps up all the stuff that's going on in development. And Terri and I can't express how excited we are with the project and especially Jelly. You're going to love it.
David, a couple people are asking if it's live action or anime. This is a live action movie. And
Live action movie.
By anime. Yeah.
But
with
it
anime
has-
I might have some,
Inspiration.
yes,
inspired.
exactly. So if anyone has questions about development, David and I are always happy to answer. And with that, we'll turn it back to Jeff and Paul.
Awesome. Thanks, you guys. Well, one thing I'll just add, you know, when Terri talks about not only increasing the number of projects in our development slate, I think it's really impressive and exciting, but also the viability of those projects. And, you know, we're adding projects that are closer to going into production, I would say, or have, you know, auspices that allow them to be, you know, more reasonably expected to you know, anything in development. One of the things about a production company is, you know, if you want to develop and produce you know, a project, you need to have many that you're working on. You can't just focus on one, because if that doesn't hit, then you've put all your eggs in that one basket. And so we have, you know, we have a lot now, and they're all, I feel really good about all of them, but so many of them I feel like, you know, we're getting close, and we want to be able to make these announcements. And, you know, like on Jelly, they're out to cast, and, you know, once we have something exciting to share, you're going to be the first to know about it. And Suki and John and Mark and Jane and everyone on that team is just super excited about working with the Legion, and, you know, and engaging there. So it'll be a fun project. All right. So next up, Film Scout. So we mentioned this a couple times. Maybe we can just do a quick overview, Jeff, of what's happening with our virtual Film Scout this year.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is, hopefully you're all familiar with Film Scout. If not, you should check it out. It's an app. You can download it to your phone. It's available on Android and iOS. The new version for 2021 just went into the App Store yesterday. It just went live yesterday morning. And if you played it last year, you do need to upgrade. And so make sure that you go to the App Store and download it. Otherwise, it won't allow you to get in. Your account from last year should still work. So you don't have to create a new account or anything like that, but you do need to upgrade the app. If you're not familiar with the app, I'm not going to go into too much detail, because I feel like a lot of people already know this, but this is the way that we kind of tackle the problem of trying to figure out what films that we want to get involved with at Sundance. You know, this year it's a smaller Sundance because production was shut down for so much of the year. But there's still 64 individual films in Scout. And we're trying to figure out, like, okay, of these 64 films, some of which are available, some of them are not, some we could get involved with, some we can't. What should we do? So we created a game, and it's really fun. If you've, I knew that we had something with Film Scout when I asked my wife to play test it, because, you know, I ask her to play test everything, and usually she's like, oh God, not again. And this time I gave it to her, and I came back an hour later and she was still doing it, and she was totally into it. So even if you are not a techno person, even if you're not a gamer, it's a great way to go in. You'll get exposure to every single film in Sundance, and your votes will allow us to see if there's something that we might be able to get involved with. 2 years ago, we bought the rights to Memory: The Origin of Alien based on Film Scout. Last year, we reached out to Bleecker Street based on Film Scout, and because of that, we were able to partner with them for Save Yourselves. So as far as this year, we don't know for sure that we're going to be able to do something, and especially because it's such a unique year. But the cool thing is that this year, Sundance is completely virtual. So, you know, in the past, you know, anybody from anywhere in the world can play the part of Film Scout, where you're helping tell us what films you're most interested in seeing and predicting what films you think will do best. But this year, as an added bonus, you can also watch the films. You can go to Sundance. You got to buy a ticket or a pass, and things do sell out, and a lot of stuff is probably already sold out. But it's a really unique opportunity. So if you've always wanted to go to Sundance, if you love independent film but you can't take the time off, or you don't have the money, or if you don't like snow, you can literally do Sundance in your pajamas in your living room. And so we think that it's super cool in that regard. So download the app. Check it out. And like I said, it is a game, and we ask you for your opinion, which your opinion is just as valid as mine or anybody else's. But we also ask for your predictions, and your predictions can be graded. And so that's the game part of it. And each year we take the top 10%, the cream of the crop, who made the best predictions. And we invite them to join our Elite Scout program. And more, especially this last year, and I think going forward into next year, we reach out to people in that group periodically to help us screen and evaluate other films. So check it out, have some fun, and download the app. If you got any questions, always let us know.
All right, let's keep going. We're already at an hour, I just noticed. So thank you for bearing. I'm always surprised at how quickly the time goes by. Mandy, you want to take us away?
Hey, everybody. It's so good to see. Hey, it's so good to see everybody. Happy New Year. Shout out to my parents who are Legion of investors and also watching this. Hey, Mom and Dad. All right, so I'm going to go through this as quickly as possible. Paul, I'm going to ask you to try and keep up with me with the slide moving. So slide, please. All right, guys, so we had despite everything for 2020, we had an awesome year. Go ahead and slide, please, Paul. We actually, for the e-commerce storefront, we've seen growth year over year over year. And for 2020, we saw double-digit growth yet again. So congratulations to the Legion. We're continuing to see amazing growth in our e-commerce web store. Slide, please. So running through a couple of the big things we were able to do last year. The end of 2019, early 2020, we announced the retirement of our founding investor teas, which thousands of you participated. So thank you so much for that. And because of all of the requests that we've been getting, we were able to bring in a ton of new Legion M gear for you to show off your investment and for you to show off, your pride for your company. So now we have things like home goods, pillows, blankets, glassware, even shoes. We have kids product now, onesies for your babies, all kinds of cool stuff. We also, thanks to one of our incredible investors, Ben Lee, created this spotlight art. Slide, please, Paul. Which a lot of you already know about this, but this is such a cool piece of art. It is like a road so far, for all my Supernatural fans out there will know the reference, and has a ton of Easter eggs within it to kind of commemorate the Legion M journey thus far. And it is so, so cool. So this is still available online right now. So please go check it out if you haven't already. Slide, please.
And you can get this in a t-shirt and a poster, another. Yep. Yeah.
All really kinds of stuff. All right, so one of our cool things we did this year was Alien Day. We celebrated Alien Day, which is in April, for anybody who doesn't know, with a promo of memory. We were able to get posters signed by director Alexander Philippe, and that sold out in one day. Slide, please. And face masks. So every single year in the retail industry, there's always one product that goes crazy. Some of you remember selfie sticks were one of those, fidget spinners. And this year it was face masks. And thankfully it was actually a product that we all needed. So this year, face masks, we participated and we partnered with the Actors Fund to help our fellow entertainment workers in this time of need. And we sold over almost 5,000 face masks in 2020. So again, thank you everybody for participating and for helping us raise money for the Actors Fund and help our fellow entertainment workers in this horrible time of need. Slide, please. The left-right game, we were able to, of course, with our partnership with Q-Code, we were able to create a really cool batch of products for that. And Ben Lee also helped us with these designs. So Ben Lee is killing it for our merchandising. Slide, please. All right, Emperor's Blades is one of my new favorite fantasy book series. I absolutely love this. Everyone here knows I'm a huge Harry Potter fan, and this is right in my wheelhouse. This was a very fun line to design and to create. So please, if you haven't checked it out yet, go check it out. We also have signed books by the author. So check that out as well if you haven't read it yet. Slide, please. If I'm talking too fast, let me know. I'm from Texas. Comic-Con was a very different year this year. You know, I've gone for the last 7 years in a row. And this was the first year, of course, we were all home for it. But Legion M still had an awesome time. We partnered with Entertainment Earth to release some exclusive products. We also released our Blunt Man and KoreConX exclusive figure. So it was still a really fun time. And again, thank you all for participating and for coming to our panels that we had at the virtual convention. And the LA Movies pop-up. This was such a cool thing. We were able to partner with the pop-up in LA. For anybody who doesn't know, there was a real life movies that came to LA, and now it's actually popping up around the country. And we partnered with them to be their exclusive e-commerce partner. So we were able to help them bring the experience to the rest of the country, the world, who couldn't be in LA for the pop-up. Slide, please. And the Mandy anniversary, we celebrated the 2nd anniversary of one of our favorite cult classic films. For everyone who doesn't know, Mandy is still one of our #1 properties, one of our #1 IPs for merchandising and licensing, and people keep discovering this movie. It is incredible. It's an anomaly, truly, how well this property still does year over year. And for this anniversary, we released a lot of really fun things, such as the variant Cheddar Goblin plush, this really awesome figure from the chainsaw battle scene, and our very own Cheddar Goblin macaroni and cheese, which we are still just so excited about, you guys. To date, we have sold over 7,600 boxes of macaroni and cheese, and we are still going strong. So heck yeah, thank you. Slide, please.
Who knew we'd be in the mac and cheese business?
So save yourselves. That was a really fun line to design with merchandise that was out of this world. And a lot of you participated in that. So thank you. Slide, please. Arch Enemy was one of my favorite collections to design because the director gave us such awesome art, colors, and symbols to pull from the film. So we released, of course, our merchandise line during the release of Arch Enemy. And, okay, wait for the next slide, hang on. So we have an announcement to make that we have not told you guys about yet, and we can finally tell you that this is still coming. It's not ready quite yet, but it will be very, very soon. Oh, wait, before you do the slide. If you remember, in Arch Enemy, there is a moment where Hamster is talking to Max, and they're talking about the whiskey that Max had in his home world of Chromium, and they're talking about space whiskey. Slide, please. We made space whiskey! What? Guys, we are so excited. We have partnered with Lost Republic, who is a really incredible whiskey producer, and with a lot of help from the rest of the team. The whiskey itself is absolutely delicious, and the design is absolutely incredible. It's exactly what it really should have been. And we're hoping, that this will also be something that, even if you haven't seen Arch Enemy, that you're still going to want to pick up off the shelf, because look how cool it is. So this will be, thank you everybody, I saw your comments. This is really exciting and cool. It will not be available quite yet. We're going to have a whole page on our site, and we'll announce it and all this good stuff, and we'll tell you where you can go buy it as soon as we can. But get ready, guys. Space whiskey is coming.
Yeah,
Slide,
just
please.
one thing to add. This is it's high-end bourbon, so it's not just any old stuff. I mean, Lost Republic is a premier boutique, bourbon distiller. They've been an awesome partner. They love this idea. We brought it to them and said, hey, would you guys want to do space whiskey with us? And, one thing, just to be clear, like, we didn't go set up a bourbon distillery or do any of that. I'm sure most of you realize that, but just to be clear. And they partnered with us, so there's upside for Legion M in doing this. It's also a great way to promote the movie, and they're actually really excited about the brand itself. Even separated from the movie, they think this could be, a contender in the bourbon category. So
Absolutely. So between Space Whiskey and Cheddar Goblin macaroni and cheese, I mean, we're just going hard in on consumables and but you know
yeah,
what? It's working.
we've got the main food groups, right?
That's all you need.
Yeah.
All right, slide please. All right, so then of course, as a lot of you already know, this is one of my, you know, the biggest accomplishments that we've been able to do this in 2020. Mandy, as I said earlier, is one of our #1 selling properties still to date, and we had not had Nicolas Cage's likeness this entire time. We have officially closed our contract with Nicolas Cage for his likeness as Red Miller in Mandy, and we are so excited to bring this new merchandise with his likeness on it to all the Mandy fans around the world, and to bring something fresh to the property. So everybody, please keep sharing this. Take the word out. This is a major accomplishment because Nicolas Cage does not give his likeness rights lightly. So please keep sharing it. Tell everybody. It's going extremely well so far, and it's only the beginning. Slide, please. All right, so this is wholesale. As a lot of you already know, you know, part of what we do is we manufacture merchandise and sell it to other retailers to sell and promote to their customers. And this was a business that we started from the ground up in 2020. So far we have been able to sell to people like Hot Topic, Entertainment Earth, Jay and Silent Bob's Secret Stash, Mondo, small comic book stores. So this is a line of business, a line of revenue that was non-existent that we have now made into a significant part of our revenue. And we hope to keep growing it in the future. Slide, please. And then another piece of revenue that we really started hard in 2020 on is licensing. So for anyone who doesn't know, licensing means that we license out our IP to a brand or retailer. They create the merchandise, we handle all of the approvals, the entire process, and then they get to sell that merchandise, you know, to their consumers. And you know, in 2020, we saw the release of 3 of our licensees' collections. One was the Lineage Pins Mandy collection that was super cool. Hot Topic did a line from Save Yourselves, and then Mondo did the really cool Cheddar Goblin macaroni and cheese collectible puzzle. And so licensing this year is going to hopefully keep growing and growing. There's a lot of things I can't tell you about yet that I'm really excited about, but I will tell you in the coming months. I cannot wait to unveil some of this. But licensing is a great stream of revenue that hopefully will keep growing in the future. And I think that's me.
Oh, no, you got
one more thing. One more thing, guys. Okay. So this is something another announcement that we have for you. Jeff and I have been working very hard on this for a long time. Thank you, Jeff, for your commitment to this project. So this is something that we've wanted to bring to the Legion for quite a while. And on March 4th is Legion M's 5th anniversary. So we are hoping to release these for the 5th anniversary of Legion M. This is an investor certificate, you guys. We are so stoked about it. This is going to be something that we change, that we know that main picture up there will change as we do new things. And this will be, again, hopefully released on March 4th. There will be a free version, a PDF version that you'll be able to download, but also there's going to be a very high-end, high-quality version online for sale. So I will let you know as soon as they're available. We're very excited to give this to you guys, and so you can show off more of your investment. That's it for me, guys. Thank you so much.
All right, awesome. So the other thing that we'll just hit on really quickly, I know many of them are also tuning in today. We kicked off our internship program this year, which has been fantastic. We've got our internship program, just, you know, for those of you that haven't heard about it, these are qualified students that are getting credit. And we've been able to bring on some incredible people, help them in their kind of career and education process, but also, you know, we get a lot of value from it and getting new perspectives and assistance. So, you know, one of the things when you look at everything that Legion M has accomplished in, you know, all the years, we have a very small team. You know, we fight way above our weight class. You know, we're less than 10 people, and, you know, so we really appreciate it when we can, you know, get the help from the community or get the help from interns and, you know, exchange value. And we do a lot of mentoring and sharing of the business and how it works and things like that. So if you have anyone in your world that might be interested in the internship program, you know, definitely send them our way. All right, Jeff, you want to do a KoreConX?
Yeah, so KoreConX is here. If you're not familiar with KoreConX, they're our transfer agent. So they are the ones that maintain the official ledger of all the shares. And so it took a million years to get moved over to them. We have really unique challenges because we have over 25,000 shareholders, and it's always a challenge, you know, dealing with that many transactions and finding the right supplier who can manage this for us. Because most companies, most transfer agents are dealing with companies that have like a couple hundred investors tops. So there's not too much to talk about here. All that it does is if you're, you know, if you ever wanted to log in and kind of like see your shares, like this is the official recording of them, or sorry, the official place where they're recorded. So if you go to the next slide, Paul, if you have not already, the right way to do it is to check your email for something that looks like this. If you can search your email for the term "view your shares in Legion M," you should have an email like this. It's possible it went to your promotions folder if you didn't see it. It's possible it went to your spam folder if you didn't see it. But find this email, because you can just click that red button. It'll allow you to create a password and an account, and you can log in. If for any reason you don't have one of these emails, you can't find one of these emails, just send us a note at team@legionm.com, and we can look into your specific situation. At this point, everybody is in the in KoreConX, with the two exceptions. The two last things that are coming in now is gift share recipients and the round 7 investors. So round 7 investments are not in there yet. We just got the round 7 investment information from WeFunder, so we'll be importing them. And we are also in the process of importing those gift share people. So like I said, if you have any question, if there's something that seems amiss, it doesn't seem right, just hit us at team@legionm.com. There's a very clear paper trail and records and all that sort of stuff. And so, you know, if there's any problem at all, just let us know, and we can get everything sorted out. If you've already logged into KoreConX and you want to go check out at any point you want to check it out, it's on our webpage. You can see, if you hover over investors, it'll bring up this little pull down here, and you can click on that transfer agent, and it'll take you right to where you can log in. So.
All right. Well, without further ado, the moment we've been waiting for. Taylor, you want to take us away with the conspicuous Valour Awards?
Conspicuous Valour Awards.
Just a flesh wound.
Yes, the Conspicuous Valour Awards. As most of you know, these are awards that we give out to the community for being conspicuously awesome, and just for being, you know, right there helping us along as we, you know, charge forward on this valiant path that we go down. So first drum roll, please. And Ewan Snoogans Gottfried.
Snoogans.
Some of you might remember Ewan from LACC in 2019, back when we could do events in person and high five and stuff without any fear of problems. But Ewan was one of a few volunteers who was manning the photo booth at LACC, taking pictures with the 2 cardboard cutouts of Jay and Kevin. So that's one of the things that I remember most about Ewan, especially. That's, I think, when I met Ewan, was that he volunteered to stand there and all day long take pictures with everyone who came by. Anyone who wanted a picture in front of the wall, he was like, yeah, no problem. And he is also, I believe, a director and a talented one. And so he's directing people, telling people, you know, where you should go, where you should stand, how to get the best picture, going above and beyond. And I see him all the time at a bunch of different events and everything. And it's just
He also hosted the largest Jay and Silent Bob meetup. He had a ridiculous number of people.
Right.
It was definitely the winner that time.
Yep,
And
that's-
my favorite memory of you, and at the very end, like it was pretty late at the Jay and Silent Bob reboot premiere party. He was there. We were hanging out. He had wanted to meet and talk to Kevin all night, and he was just about to leave. And I was like, no, hang on. Kevin's right here. And sure enough, Kevin comes over, talks to Ewan, and it was just like those guys. I don't know how long they talked for, but it was really a special moment, I think.
Yep, it's amazing. He's great. And so the Valour Awards are something that we all collectively as a company just get together and say, hey, who's been a huge standout this year that we want to thank with a real award. And if you know anything about Legion M, you know that we'd love to give people real trophies, not just digital stuff.
And not little puny ones either.
Exactly. So thank you, Ewan,
Oh,
for
sorry.
for us.
Oh,
Next up,
sorry.
okay, reverse drum roll, blah, 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 and go for it.
Do-do-do-do.
And there it is. Lori Leader Lampkin, hostess with the mostest, meetup extraordinaire. Thank you so much for everything that you do, especially back when we could still do meetups. I know we're going to be doing more meetups soon. I know that also, especially Mandy specifically sings your praises all the time.
Yeah, Lori's awesome. You know, Lori she comments on everything. She's always there. Like, she always gives great feedback. You know, she's always buying stuff in the store. Like, just a fantastic supporter, and we thank you a lot, Lori, for always being there.
And Lori also
here
has,
if we want to bring her up.
Lori also has, in my opinion, the coolest Legion M license plate. You can see it there. She couldn't get the correct spelling because someone had already taken it in Texas. But I just love the fact that, you know, in rural Texas, there's this car driving around with the Legion M license plate on it.
It's perfect. Thank you, Lori. All right, Taylor.
That, I think, are both of the Valour Award winners. Lori, we made you a co-host. If you want to say anything, feel free. Otherwise, we'll move on to questions. So that's
Oh, well, all I can say is I don't really have a whole lot of words to say. I'm just speechless, and that's really unusual for me. Thank y'all. I'm so proud to be a part of Legion M, and onward and upward.
Onward and upward.
Yeah.
You're the best.
That's right.
Yay.
Love you guys. Thank you so much.
All right. So now we're finally at questions. So Taylor, you want to take the lead on how we want to do questions?
Absolutely. So as you guys can tell, we're right on time, and we planned for this.
Yeah, as always.
So, you know, I think what we wanted to bring people up one at a time to ask your questions. So what I think we'll do first is we've been tracking a lot of the questions that have come in the chat. So if Paul, Jeff, Terry, David, anyone that wants to field any of those that are in Slack right now, why don't we just go through a bunch of them? If you've got a really quick question that we can do at the end, put your hand up. You can use the little raise hand button under reactions. And we'll try to bring you up, but we also want to make sure that this doesn't end up being an 8-hour meeting. And it would, honestly, we would sit here. I mean, I would sit here for hours.
We would. But I would feel bad for everyone else that felt like they needed to sit there.
Yeah. Hey, you know, one thing, while the questions are coming in, is it possible to bring the team up, Taylor, so we can introduce Prophetess? And
Let's do it.
I saw Coops in the audience too. I don't know if, I'm not sure if Tyler's here, but just to let you guys know, we have grown our team a little bit this year. And we've got some amazing new people that we'd like to introduce.
Yes. So I do not have control over where everyone will see everyone on your individual Zooms. But if you go to grid
Well,
view,
you might be able to, Taylor, you could spotlight them one at a time. Like if we want to spotlight, I think you can do that, can't you?
Yes, I can. And so that's what I will do. So
let's put some people in the spotlight.
In the spotlight.
You can turn your grid view on if you want to look upon all the wonderful faces of the Legion as well. So who would you guys like to talk about first?
Let's start with Prophetess. I want to just make a quick introduction to Prophetess. As you saw in our kind of, company performance, revenues are growing. And we got to a point where, we have consultants that help us on the accounting side, and we're now at a point where we wanted to bring on a dedicated, finance director and someone to kind of, do this on an ongoing basis. And we found Prophetess. We fell in love with her and her name, which is perfect for her role. So Prophetess, welcome to Legion M.
Thank you. I am so excited to be a part of the Legion. It's great coming to work every day. These guys are so inspiring. I love the community. I'm so excited just to see what's coming in the future. 2021, we're about to knock it out of the park. And so it's just such a pleasure to be here. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you. And Prophetess has already done a great job. I mean, as you know, we have to do audited financials every year. I mean, for the size of company we are, the amount of accounting and, due diligence in that element is probably above what most companies would do. I mean, way above what most companies would do, but it's part of what makes this all possible. And so we appreciate all your help in kind of getting everything, managed and organized and keeping us on time and everything else. So you'll
let the checks roll in, Paul. Let the checks roll in.
Let the checks roll. That's right. Yeah, Prophetess is also our heavy. So if we need some, any accounts payable, she's after it. All right. Who else? Jeff, you want to introduce someone?
So Chris Cooper is here, and Chris, if you could spotlight Chris. Coop, somebody that Paul and I worked with at a previous company, Moby TV. So, it was a great opportunity to work with him again. And he's one of our growth hackers. And so, we talk about how we try and grow revenue, how we try and grow the Legion. Coop is one of the guys on the front lines of that. So hello, Coop.
Hey. Well, welcome to everyone else. And, I actually have known these guys for many years. And also I was an investor, actually bought shares for my kids back in the early days of Legion M because I knew it was going to be a cool idea. So I'm really grateful that our paths have crossed again, and I'll keep going out there doing all of your bidding, hacking away. So that's what I'm here for. I'm here for you guys. I'm here for everyone who's invested in this. We all believe in it, and I'm really happy to be a part of it. So thank you for the warm welcome.
Yeah. One fun fact that I think is worth sharing, and Chris sent it to me over the weekend. I think it's a really kind of fateful thing, or actually you sent it yesterday. Chris is a really exceptionally good musician and has been in many bands and toured around the world and done a lot with his music skills. But he was in a band back when, he was working with me and Jeff at Moby TV. He was in a band called Loquat. And Loquat is a really good band. I mean, they, you guys had some good albums and, did some tours and stuff. But the cool thing is Chris sent me a note just yesterday. They actually recorded a song. Why don't you tell us about it, Chris? Because I think it was foreshadowing in a way.
All right, so Loquat was a little indie rock band that got out of control pretty quickly when we started making good songs. We had a 3-album deal with Sony Records, so we got the whole touring package, South by Southwest, all that kind of stuff, New York, and we were in the second version of the band because the first version of the band imploded. And so during the second version of the band, we started trying to write songs about what it means to start over, to see things that other people don't see, to not have people believe in you, and to kind of have to just focus on us 5 to be successful. So the song that we wrote was called The Legion. And that was in 2012 when we wrote this song called The Legion. And the whole song is about kind of building something from scratch where you only see the vision of it. That was, it just hit me yesterday when I heard some of our songs on Pandora. My wife has a Pandora station and it came on and I was like, how could I not have remembered that? So I kind of freaked out and I sent it over to Paul and Jeff, and I told Taylor, I'm like, I'm sure we can work the rights out if you guys want to use this.
Yeah, we're gonna have to post that.
Don't tell Tony.
Video in our Facebook group.
Yeah. It's just kind of cool how things. I believe in that. I believe in the fate and how paths are either they're meant to be or they're not, and we keep bumping into each other in so many ways. So again, happy to be here, and hopefully we'll make something out of that.
Yep. Thank you.
Cheers
Chris.
to that.
Yeah.
Cheers to that. So there's one more person, and he wasn't able to join us today, but Tyler Harmon is another one of our growth hackers, and so hopefully we'll get a chance to get him on to one of our future shareholder meetings, so you can kind of meet him and learn his background.
Well, and we might, Richard Silverman's out there. I don't know if he's still watching, but Richard is one of our kind of advisors and assistants in biz dev. Richard, do you see Richard? He may have, he was texting me earlier, so I know there's a lot of people, so it might be hard to find him.
Yeah, I see him.
Oh, there he is.
Oh, there he is.
Surprise, Richard. I'm glad you're dressed.
Thank God I threw this on. I met Paul and Jeff, God, what, 2.5, 3 years ago now?
2.5 years ago, yeah. Through Piper.
Yeah, and immediately glommed onto the vision and what they were ideating around and creating, and their energy and their spirit. And I've been working with Paul mostly directly, and Jeff, as well with Terri and David on not just project development, but also bringing other established, investment funds to looking at buying into the vision and building the platform along with you guys. And, again, I couldn't be more excited to be part of the family and the team. And this is not exactly how I was hoping to be seen by everybody.
This is kind of spontaneous, Richard. It's not, I didn't deliberately not tell you about it. It just kind of came up.
I was like, do I hit camera on? Should I do it?
Yes, you should. Of course you should. That's how we roll.
But again, thank you guys. A pleasure to meet everybody, and couldn't be more excited.
Perfect. Thank you, Richard. All right. So now should we dive into questions? I feel like
you want to feed the questions, Taylor?
Sure thing. I can bring them up right now. In fact, so there are two people who've had their hands up for the entirety of the presentation. So I just want to bring them up real quick. First, Padraig, are you ready for your question? Padraig North Shore. Let's see, I'm going to.
Your arm must be so tired to just hold it up that whole time.
Hi, how you doing? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, we can hear you. How are you?
So psyched to be part of it. I just thought I'd double up my investment from 1K. That's a binary number. You know what that is, right? It's 1024. You know that.
Yeah.
I just went to 2048 and I did it through Refunder. And the final question is this. I want to get that link to share with somebody to join. And I don't see a real nice link to say, please go invest coming from Patrick. So if you could put that in the chat window, how to let a friend and refer them. I didn't see.
I think that's a great. I'm glad you brought that up, Patrick. That is something that we've had in the past, and I think we probably need to sort of resurface it. The Legion M share, where you can kind of dial in your own details and send to your friends. Thank you for that, and thank you for your support.
I wanted to go to Sundance this year, had the money, had the free time, but of course.
Well, the good news is Sundance is coming to you this year.
I'm in Ireland. I've been in Ireland 21 months in Northwest Ireland on a little island, and I can't wait to see you all sometime in the future. Let's take more important. Thanks for taking my question. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Patrick.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so let's see. Next up, we have, I believe it's Al, or it could be two initials, AI. So Al or AI, if you can introduce yourself, I'm going to ask you to unmute if you're available for your question.
I knew at some point we'd be fielding a question from an AI.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
The
just
computers are
inevitable.
coming for us all.
Yeah.
Hi. Yeah, no, I just didn't want to give my name, so it's
No worries.
AI, just 2 initials. So my question is, this is my, I guess, half a year, first year as a member of Legion M. I met most of you guys, and I started this last year at since Comic-Con was done virtually. I met some. I saw the panels, and so my question is, how, as a member of Legion M, how do we? I don't know if we have to create it and give it to you, or we want to make a movie or book. I don't know as to how it works at Legion M. If you could elaborate, please.
Yeah, Terry.
Yeah. So if you have an idea for a movie or a TV series, or if you have a book or a screenplay that you've written, or even if you have read something and you're like, wow, this would make the greatest project ever. There are 2 ways to kind of letting us know.
Yeah, I kind of did say something like that in the Facebook group, which was, and I saw this from an article, I think it was from comicbook.com, about how if anybody's seen the last like 45 minutes of the latest Rambo, it can make it look like Old Man Punisher.
I haven't seen it. I'm gonna
Well,
need to check it.
The ending of the movie makes Stallone look like a version of the Old Man Punisher comic. So, yeah. But like I said, yeah, I just wanted to get the idea as to how it works for that, because I was just. Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, if you post in Facebook, it does come to us. We read every single post, and in fact, many of our projects have come through those Facebook ideas. And if you're looking for a more direct line into the team about an idea, you can write team@legionm.com. Generally speaking, we're not open for open submissions. For those of you who are listening and have a screenplay, we opened for submissions when we started the company and immediately had over 1,000 submissions. We just don't have the staff to be able to go through all that. But if you send us an email, tell us what you're working on, maybe give us the log line. We can tell you pretty quickly if it's something that that is in our wheelhouse, that's that we could have a further conversation on. So team@legionm.com.
Can somebody just write in the chat, please? I'm terrible with remembering stuff.
I'll do it right now. Oh, someone beat me to it. They're so much faster.
Thank you. Yes, I understand that. Like I said, it's my first year. I was trying to get an understanding of this stuff.
No, it's awesome.
Awesome. I love it. That's what you should do. Ask those questions.
Great. Thank you, AI. All right. Let's see. Let's take a couple of questions from the beginning of the presentation. Let me pull it up real quick. First one is from Theo. Have any major investment banks, angels, or other major startup buyers bought shares? If so, whom?
Not on a large scale like that we've seen, but we also haven't been pursuing them. I mean, our efforts and emphasis has been really on kind of recruiting and uniting entertainment fans, everyday investors and people. Although, we have been stepping up our conversations with people that are interested, and in the early days, I mean, we have a lot of interest. I mean, there's a lot of people that are very kind of fascinated with our business, and we had one early kind of aggressive person talking about buying out the whole company, and but we're still early, and so we haven't been pursuing those at the expense of uniting and growing the community. That's really still our first priority.
Yeah, Paul and I have done, I mean, this is our third company, if you're not familiar with our background. And our first one was funded by VCs, where we raised over $140 million from venture capitalists. And our second one was funded primarily by angel investors. And so, we've kind of run the gamut. I do know that we do have venture capitalists and angels that are invested.
Oh, that's for sure. Yeah, as personal investments. Yeah.
they've invested via WeFunder the same way that everybody else has, because we have not, like Paul said, our goal, the whole point of this is to try and aggregate a bunch of small investors. So we have not gone out and, tried to pitch this to VCs. And to be honest, I don't know that it really makes a ton of sense for a VC to come in and put in a $5 million or $10 million investment.
Well, and one complication on that subject, because we have sort of explored it, VCs and venture capital and private equity and any of these larger scale investors are going to want some kind of preference. And so we're always a little bit hesitant, because that would mean that there would be an investment that comes in front of the fans. And so which we don't think is worth it. And so we are emphasizing our community, and we don't want to kind of prioritize anyone above them. And so we haven't pursued it, but like I said, we're not ruling it out, especially as we scale. And as far as our projects go, this is one other element. So that's like the core investment into Legion M. But like, if you look at our projects, there are projects in development that, some of them might require, $30+ million to produce. We're not financing that production. We're the founders of those projects, and we will go out and source the finance. In some of those cases, it may come from, financiers and distributors and pre-buys and, debt equity and all those things. So those are conversations that are ongoing, but more directed towards the projects. And then separately, there are some discussions. I don't want to go into too much detail because it's really early, but about creating film funds and, being kind of the sort of fan representation in front of, maybe much larger film and production fund. And so there's a decent amount of interest in, doing something like that. Okay.
Awesome. All right, rad. So let's see, the next question comes from Colleen. She says, hi there, I'm a new member and getting ready to become an investor. I have family members that would be interested in Legion M as well. Is it possible to invest as a group where we share the benefits, or do we each need to invest individually? Can I gift an investment, like put up money to buy in on behalf of someone else?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I can tell you that the way that it works on WeFunder is you need a person's name in order to make an investment. So for example, if you and a couple friends decided to go in together, you would have to have an agreement amongst yourselves as to how that was going to work. But because it could only be in one name. You can invest as a corporation or an LLC or some sort of entity. You can invest as a trust. You can also invest with an IRA. This is a new thing. Like, we want to put some documentation out there because there are these things called self-directed IRAs that allow people to invest. And WeFunder now has an integration with one of them that makes it very simple. We're always we're always telling people, like, this is not a place for your retirement savings. And it's not a place for all of your retirement savings. But if you're looking to have kind of like a balanced portfolio and you want something that's high risk, high reward, and want to do that, you can do it there. So I hope that answers your question. You can also, once you own the shares, you can transfer them via KoreConX. That is one of the advantages of KoreConX. They've got a process. So for example, if you buy shares and you want to gift them to a friend or something like that, I'll warn you in advance. It's a little bit of a pain in the butt process because you have to show ID and they have to show ID because there's all sorts of like anti-money laundering laws that KoreConX has to abide by. And so it's a little bit of a process, but it can be done. And then the last thing that I'll say is that we have offered gift shares in the past. We are not offering them now, and it's because of the framework of the SEC regulations that we're using to issue our shares right now. But we do hope to have them at some point in the future. And so, down the road, there may be opportunities to buy gift shares again, so you can gift them to your friends.
Great. So next one comes from Roderick Faulkner. What is Legion M's plans for developing projects from filmmakers from marginalized communities, including Black filmmakers, Indigenous filmmakers, and filmmakers from the LGBTQIA?
Great question. Terri or David, you guys want to take that?
Yeah, no, it's probably, if you look through our whole slate, it's probably worth noting that we very actively look for projects that represent those communities. And a great example is Girl with No Name. The director and the producer on the film are LGBTQ+, and we have another project that our period heist movie is incredible. I don't want to talk about it too much because I know we're going to do a big announcement about it. But it's based on a true story about an incredible individual who was enslaved during the Civil War. And, we're going to be looking to bring on partners that are people of color to do that film. We're constantly, every time we read something, we're constantly asking the question, is this telling a story from a different point of view? And so by definition, we're hoping, because we're asking those questions, that those projects will bubble up to the top, that we're specifically going out and looking for them also. So when we call our producing friends at the studios and say, what are you working on? Do you have any projects that, and we're not checking boxes to fit into categories, but do you have any projects that tell stories like this? We're getting scripts that are incredible right now and unbelievably diverse. And having read them, I'm like, we're the better for it. Like, these are stories that need to be seen in the world. They're things that we should be talking about. So we will continue to do that. We have a lot of work ahead of us. We have a lot of improvement, just as every company does. But I feel very confident that when we start announcing the specifics about our slate over the next few months, the people who are looking for that kind of storytelling will feel very, very satisfied and hopefully represented.
Yeah, and also I'd like to say that, as we work more and more with members of those communities, they come to us with their projects. So it's like the flywheel that Paul talked about. The important thing is that we do have a diverse slate, not only from communities, but in general in storytelling. So it's actually really exciting. This is an exciting period where, because certain films have been successful, finally people are kind of waking up to the fact that there is talent everywhere. And, if you choose to ignore it, then, it's your loss. But we don't ignore talent coming from anywhere.
I'd also add it's exciting too, because, the marketplace is hungry for it as well. So, it's not only something that we want to do because we think it's the right thing to do. It's also, smart from a business standpoint, because these are projects that have momentum and other people like studios, et cetera, are looking for. All right, should we keep going?
We've got one from John Biscardi. John asks he says, I know that the tech necessary to truly enjoy icons isn't perfected yet, but is there any talk about doing it as a regular series? It's a great idea and lots of people are passing away that should be interviewed.
That's a great question, John. Like, that project is near and dear to our hearts for a lot of reasons. I mean, one is we just love this fundamental idea of capturing these moments with people like we did with Stan while you have the opportunity, and capturing them in this ultra high fidelity virtual reality. And I mean, we're also I personally feel like the one that we did with Stan and Kevin Smith before Stan passed away is one of the most meaningful projects that we've done. Like, we captured something, and it's an 1.5-hour interview with Stan, probably one of the last serious interviews of his lifetime. And the fact that we captured it in this excruciatingly high quality so that we have the potential to reproduce it someday in virtual reality where you can kind of sit down with them, I think is really unique. And so we've had a lot of discussions there's a lot of challenges kind of inherent with that project. The virtual reality market has not really kind of taken off the way that a lot of people thought that initially might. And so, it's something that we're actively in discussion with. Stan's 100th birthday is in a little bit over a year. Well, I guess it's about a year and a half or a year and 3/4. And so, we're having a lot of discussions now about how can we bring that to light? How can we honor Stan, share that with the world in a meaningful way? And part and parcel of that is always like, how can we kind of make the most of icons? So that was a real long non-answer to your question, other than to say it's definitely something that we're eager, and it's not like we've forgotten about it. It's just it's kind of one of those projects that
good news is that interview, is like a fine wine. It just keeps getting, more valuable.
Yeah.
So let's see, guys, way back at the very beginning of the Q&A, one other hand did shoot up, was Christopher Schaefer. I wanted to just bring him up real quick. Chris, if you're ready, I'm going to ask you to unmute and you can ask your question. Christopher, can you hear us?
Chris,
I'm not sure if we can hear you.
we can see him. I can see Chris, but I can't hear him. Maybe his mic's. Chris?
My headphones out. Now.
Oh, there you go. Now we can hear you.
Yeah, my headphones were messing up. Sorry. Thanks.
No
Thanks for taking my question. I had several, but most of them were just answered. So I guess most importantly, I've followed since the beginning. So I've not invested in, but I sure have been involved with the Sundance thing big time. I completed the whole deal last year. It was amazing. And then to show my wife's like, dude, you're wasting your time, blah, 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 blah. And at the end, when you guys are like, hey, send me the email. Hey, we chose this and this. I was like, look at that. See. And when we're watching Netflix, and I was like, hey, what about that? You want to watch that? That's one from Legion M. And she's like, yeah, let's do it. So I finally got her to agree to, when I get my taxes this year, let me put in a couple of $100 to invest and see what it does. But she's real angry that she agreed to it.
We'll prove her wrong.
We have to change your mind on that.
Yeah.
Right. Long story short, my question is, I want to get like physically involved. I haven't worked since 2018 because I've got some hip problems and I can't do physical labor, and that's all I've really ever done. And I messed around and didn't retain enough knowledge of electronics, and I didn't really get into the Facebook and Twitter and everything to learn how to profit off of any kind of social media. But this kind of stuff is the kind of stuff that I've spent the last 2 years following and trying to get involved in. Joseph Gordon-Levitt does the hit record. I do a bunch of stuff, but I don't get anywhere with anything. So my question is, how can I physically get involved in some stuff to try to further this along, to show my wife I'm not crazy and this really goes someplace and does something? I'm an artist. I can write. I don't like to. It takes so much time, but my kids are like wonders at techno stuff. And I'm just really not. Like, I'm not sure if my Zoom is even working right.
No, you're working. Yeah, Chris, I would say, if you want to send us an email, send us an email to team@Legion M and, let us know where you live and what you're up to and what your skills.
I did send one not very long ago. I don't know if I did it right. It was in a questionnaire. I sent something back as a reply. My email is and that's what I replied from. But I don't know that if I did get a reply back, it was lost somewhere. I haven't seen one. I still get all my regular Legion M emails. So I might just have missed it along with all of the other stuff that I get
Yeah.
emails.
Well, under normal circumstances, we do have a lot more ways to physically get involved, like to, help organize a meetup or come to a Comic-Con. And, most of those opportunities are like volunteer opportunities, but they can, lead to other things. And, this year we haven't been doing a lot of those just because physically we've had to, stay in place.
Yeah, it's been
But
a weird
hopefully
year.
later this year, things improve. I would recommend sending an email. Send another email to team at Legion M, and then we can make sure that that we respond to it.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Somebody reads every single email that comes to team@legionm.com, and sometimes it does take a little bit of a time to get a response. I mean, keep in mind, like, you have seen the entire team today, and there's a lot that we're doing. And, it's also just to kind of set everybody's expectations. Like, we're not hiring for any positions right now, but there are ways to get involved with the company. And if it's something that there's a way that you want to contribute, I think also talking in the Facebook group, if you look at the number of kind of things that you can do just with Legion M, the company, it's this big, but within the entire community of everybody that's involved with Legion M, it's much larger. And we've seen people get together to work on a movie together or to collaborate on a project together. And all that happens within the group and within the community. So certainly if you or if anybody has a question, send it to team@legionm.com. We'll get back to you. But the best way to keep apprised of what's going on with Legion M is just to check out the stuff, take advantage of the opportunities, and hopefully grow from there.
Cool. Awesome. Thanks, Chris. Okay, let me move on to another one that we got during the chat. And then also, Jeff, Paul, Terry, David, you let me know. We're coming up on 6 p.m. my time here Eastern. Maybe we should take just a few more questions, or would you like to just keep on rocking?
I say we take a few more. I noticed that like a lot, and I think Jeff even mentioned, Jeff Hoogland had mentioned, if we could mine the chat and maybe, follow up. I mean, it might take too long to answer every question, but to just see, like, are there questions in there that we've already answered in our FAQ? And if not, that maybe we update the FAQ to include, answers to those questions. But I don't know about you guys. I'm game to stick around for a few more.
Yeah.
Great.
Absolutely. I got to tell you that I have a lot of willpower here. I'm sitting here in honor of Jeff.
I want an RV.
Oh man!
Now you're just flexing, Terry. Come on, you're bragging.
Smart to get ahead of your lunch. I haven't had lunch.
Awesome. Okay, so we've got one from Jeff Hagland. How can we get some more insight into some of the specifics of our deals, particularly projects that have already been released?
Well, one thing I will say, so we did do a kind of, I mean, we're under non-disclosure on all of our projects, so we have to be really careful about how much detail we provide. And the good news is that the terms that we're getting in our projects are, sometimes, as we mentioned earlier, we're getting increasingly better terms, and sometimes even better than anyone else investing in that project or participating. And so even there, like, filmmakers and whoever we're negotiating with are always really sensitive to not like sharing those details. And so we're just very conscientious. We don't want our, projects to, anyone out there to feel like, oh, well, if you do a deal with Legion M, everybody knows all the details of the deal. But one thing I will say, we did do a report card on our last deep dive. We did a report card that went through and kind of assessed each one of these deals. We've also, we've done some write-ups about, these deals and, given some kind of range on what they're worth and how we recoup and what some of the benefits are of the various different models that we've applied. So some of those are captured in a blog post. And then our Legion M fact page has more information about, the types of deals that we do. I don't know if that answers your question, Jeff, but you know, it's kind of the best we can provide at this point. And so, yeah, I mean, does anyone, Terri, do you have anything you'd want to add to that?
Yeah, I would say there's good information in our SEC filings. That's always a good place to reference for that kind of information.
Great. Okay, cool. So next question. So this one's about round 7. I know we touched on this a little bit, but so this one comes from Nasser. Given that round 7 is a much higher round of investment, do our new investment dollars buy at a higher share price than our original investments in earlier rounds? If so, would you be able to give us an idea of the new share price that we would be investing at in round 7? So perhaps you guys could just talk a little bit about the nuance of round 7, the rewards that we've done this time around, if there's any extra details that you can give in that regard.
Jeff, before you answer though, make sure that we are abiding by SEC rules on Reg CF.
Oh, that's a great question. Yeah, that's a great point. I don't know if this would be considered like a public forum. Well, okay. So let's just say this. This is a totally obscure part of SEC regulation, and Terri is playing the role of lawyer, Legion M's lawyer here, and putting me in my place rightfully. But basically, just so everybody's aware, a share is a share is a share of Legion M. So if you bought in our first round, the share price was $7. And if you buy in the current round, it's more than that. And you can see the share price on the WeFunder page. And so the shares cost more. The shares are also a little differently this time because our shares come with rewards. So if you invest, even if you invest $100, you're going to have the opportunity when everything's done to select a reward, and you can get, you know, bonus shares if you would like to increase your stake in Legion M and own more shares for the same amount of money, or you can get like a $20 gift card to Alamo Drafthouse, depending on the level that you invest. We've got things all the way up to red carpet premiere tickets to join us at a Legion M premiere sometime. So anyway, all that information is described on the WeFunder page. But to answer your question, yeah, you know, so far we're on our 7th round right now, and each round the shares have gotten more expensive. And so, you know, the minimum investment has been $100 the whole time. But if you invested back in round 1, you know, it would have got you what, like 12 or 13 shares for $100. And now when you invest $100, I think it's more like 7 or 8 shares ish. So anyway, was that okay, Terri?
Yeah, good job,
All right,
Jeff.
fantastic. Her job is to keep us out of jail for making SEC transgressions. Like, oh my God, they mentioned the share price.
So we've got one from Emily Easty. Film Scout is great. Any app or resources for Legion M members to chat room or debrief as they're watching Sundance films this year? I feel like I could even answer that one. The Facebook group. There's a lot of different places that you can communicate with just other members of the Legion. But the main one that we find that has the most activity is the private Facebook group. But do you guys have any other tips as well? Do we have any other places?
It does bring up a good point. I mean, we talked about doing something, you know, kind of like creating our own virtual Sundance lounge like we did for the New Year's party using the Gather platform.
Yeah, we could do something with Gather, or even just like a scout meeting on Zoom or something like this, you know, could potentially work too for people that want to get together and talk about what movies they saw or what they chose on Scout. Like, I think that could be fun.
We're also throwing around the idea of Discord, and just to have a Legion M Discord for people to go in and talk. But that's in the beginning stages.
Party line, the party line. I love it. All right, I'm game for that. Well, you know, one thing I would say, you know, as you can probably tell from just the sheer like number of things that Legion M is doing and the small number of people that we have doing them, if anyone out there is particularly interested in maybe taking a lead on that and just, like is good with forums or, might want to kind of learn, gather, I think we would love, the help. I think one of the challenges for us is just, when you look at our objectives and everything we have to do, finding the time to kind of go build that out. We even, it took us a while to pull the trigger on doing Sundance again this year, just because we've got so many other things that are, our top priorities. But we ultimately decided to do it and dusted the app off and got it out there. And I think, if there's anyone out there that wants to take the lead on helping, I think creating a space where we can have dialogue and discussion about the films at Sundance this year would be a great idea. So just hit us up at team@legionm.com if that's something that you want to help with.
Awesome. Paul, this one's directly for you. What's the story of your guitar behind you?
This mandolin, or ukulele, I mean. So this is, so I am a guitar player. I'm not a ukulele player. But one of my best friends from when the pandemic set in, one of my best friends from literally grade school, and we also went to college together, he sent that to me so that he's learning, and so we could do live Zoom calls and play the ukulele together.
Awesome. This one comes from Jennifer Behrens. Jennifer, I see you have your hand up there, but I also think this is the one from the chat. Do you mentor other entrepreneurs?
Well, Paul teaches a class at Kellogg, but Paul and I are never shy about talking and sharing our thoughts and ideas, and so that'd be a fun thing to do sometime. We don't do anything formally. But send an email to team@legionm.com. If we got enough people interested, maybe we could form a little entrepreneurs group.
Yeah, definitely. And as Jeff mentioned, I do teach a class for Northwestern Kellogg about entrepreneurship, and it's a specific class about building innovation teams and culture in kind of the startup world and why that's important. And one thing I'd love to explore with Northwestern, it's not like I'm not a full-time professor or anything. I'm just an adjunct professor that does one class a year. And under normal circumstances, it takes place at night. This year, it's on Friday afternoons because normally the students would come out from Evanston and be here. And we do like a night class for them while they intern at startups in Silicon Valley. But this year, most of them are still in Chicago. So to support the time zone, we do it on Friday afternoon. But we do record the classes. And I do have a lot of material that I've developed that I'd be very open to sort of exploring, like how do we take some of the materials that, yesterday we had Patty McCord from Netflix as our guest speaker. And she talked about creating the Netflix culture deck and the deck and the culture that she and Reed Hastings created at Netflix. And it was an amazing discussion, like really, really cool. And, she's one of my favorite people for kind of talking about culture and startup culture. And, maybe Northwestern would let me kind of peel out some of that stuff and share it, with others.
Guys, I'm just going to unmute Jennifer real quick because that was her question. I see that it was linked to her hand up. Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I got to say that, serendipity is real and it's pretty amazing. First of all, congratulations, David Baxter. Great to see you. I met you guys in Sundance about 4.5 years ago. I think it was your first, your launch, the big launch. And I bought this t-shirt at Sundance, right?
Oh, nice. Yeah.
18, right? Was it? Yeah, 18. And today I put it on right before starting my challenge with Tony Robbins. And it's all about me creating the mindset of really getting, to the next level as a filmmaker and actress and everything. And I said, oh God, I miss Sundance. I wish I was at Sundance right now. And then as soon as I was done with the challenge, I went to my email and I had this invitation from you guys.
Oh, see?
Perfect.
Things
Whoa.
happen for a reason. The
Whoa.
universe is telling you something.
Yes, I got chills all over my body right now. I was like, oh my goodness.
It
So
all aligned.
it does. So the mentorship is really, because what Tony says is like, find someone that's doing what you want to do and ask for mentorship and just get in there and learn and you know, and contribute. And for us, my husband and I work together. It's about creating content that makes a difference in the world and has a message. And yeah, so this is great what you guys are doing. And I haven't gotten an email from you guys in a long time, like in years. So I'm like, Legion, oh yeah, I remember. Oh yeah. I'm like, Zoom? Wow. And then I'm like, literally, it was kind of like, I ended up at a party, like one of those VIP parties, you know? Look,
yeah.
I'm even creating the VIP
there it is.
There.
Love it.
Sure.
So I wanted to share that because I want to thank you guys and also let you know that the energy is flowing and 2021 is already really a magical year. And it's about believing and really speaking your truth, and what you guys have accomplished is amazing. So congratulations. And it's inspiring. It's inspiring for new entrepreneurs like me that want to also reach out and make a difference in the world.
That's awesome. That's
Thank
so
you.
good to hear, Jennifer. Thank you for sharing that. And, you know, one of the things, like when Jeff and I started the company, I mean, our goal wasn't to just unite fans together and then create this company. It's to unite fans together and collectively bring them along on the ride. And so, like, for us, we want, like, the mentorship can, like, I mean, that's why, you know, we do the Startup 101. We want to talk about, you know, how these things work and what we're doing and the method to the madness. And as much as we can share, I know Jeff Hoagland had mentioned, like, can we do more regular updates like this? And that's something that, you know, we're committed to. Like, we've agreed that this year we want to almost do like a quarterly update where we can include some, you know, entrepreneurship, you know, details and things that just might be helpful, but they're also relevant to what we're doing, like the flywheel. You know, it's, we talk about it because it's a core part of our mission and our objective, but it's also something that, like, if you're looking to start a company, something to think about, you know. And culture, the same thing. We've got materials on that. We've got, I mean, I feel like I could teach 4 courses on entrepreneurship. So yeah, we'd love to do it.
Oh, great. Well, I will send you an email because I am your first student has just shown up.
Awesome.
Okay, great. Thank you
you.
so much. Nice to meet all of you. Great seeing you, David, again. And I've got a 3:30 and I'm just going to send air hugs to everyone.
All right, air hugs.
And I will definitely keep in touch. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you, Jennifer.
Thanks, Jennifer.
Bye, Jennifer.
Bye-bye.
Okay, awesome. So right now there are 4 more hands up, guys. Do we want to just take these final 4 questions, or would you like?
Yeah, let's do that. I think that's great. And then maybe if we can keep the Zoom alive, if there are any other questions in the chat that, you know, in the meantime, I noticed that Michelle and others are already answering some of the questions. Like if someone asks the average shareholder, you know, investment and things like that, that I think that's great and appreciate it.
Awesome. All right, cool. So we have 4 hands up. So our final 4, Jeff, Margaret, Michael, and Jay Benz. We'll go from there. So if you guys could just get ready for your questions. So I see that Jay Benz's camera is on. Are you ready for me to unmute you? Awesome. Hi, welcome.
Here I go. Hi. So it's more of a comment than anything else, and I hope you guys do more future. Of course, right now with the pandemic, that's probably not gonna happen anytime soon. But I was able to participate on the preview of Jay and Silent Bob's reboot, and it was, and I was able to bring a friend with me, and we really enjoyed, you know, being able to be part of that. And the only thing is that it was during a work day, and so we didn't end up going to the party afterwards, which I wish I did. But my comment was is that night I was actually did not expect you, Paul, to call me that night. And I didn't recognize the number, so that was the only reason why I didn't even answer the phone. But once I realized who it was that called me, I was just like, I really wish that I had answered, because then I would have been able to personally talk to you and so it was more of a comment, and at the same time, hoping that we'll have something like that where we get to be involved in.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, the pandemic's really kind of put a little bit of a damper, but don't you fear. Like, we have not given up. I mean, we are chomping at the bit to get back out to Comic-Cons and film festivals, and Mandy and Taylor and their team. I mean, it's like we're already, got our finger on the pulse to figure out like when those first opportunities are going to be and all of that. So
my name is Jennifer, by the way. So,
yep.
But you did call me, which really surprised me, but I really appreciate it, because
was I calling to make
personal.
sure you could get into the party, or do you remember? I forget.
It was a work night, and me and my friend decided to call it a night. But there was a side of me that I was just like really tempted to go and really wanted to go, but then at the same time I was like, oh, I got a responsibility. I need to go home, and wake up the next day for work. So
no worries, there'll be future opportunities, I promise.
Awesome.
Thanks,
Jennifer.
Great to talk to you, Jennifer. Okay. Let's see. So I'm going up the list this time. So Margaret Deslus-Lacon, forgive me if I have said the name wrong. If you'd like to ask your question, I'm unmuting you now.
Hi, can you hear me?
Hey,
can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Hey.
Actually, it's Eton Lecon.
Yeah,
I'm under my wife's name.
I recognize you. I'm like, you're coming in with some other name. We know who you are.
Yeah. Sneaky. Well, that's my boss, and she's always on Zoom more than me, so it's under her name. But Happy New Year to everyone. And I just want to ask two questions, actually. One is, how many members approximately do we have? Is number one. And two, is there any possibility of getting Betty White involved? Because she just, I think, turned 100, or it's going to turn 100. So I figure that's a good thing, but I also want to know about the members, approximately. And that's it.
Well, I'll take the numbers, and then Paul or whoever can hop in on Betty. But as far as investors, we've got it's somewhere between 25 and 30,000. It's probably around 28. I think we don't know exactly right now, because we're in the middle of importing all the WeFunder transactions and the gift share transactions. And so you can kind of add all the numbers together. The problem is that when people are making multiple investments, so like a round one investor that are invest again in round 7, you don't know that information until everything gets imported. So anyway, we're kind of in that 25 to 30,000 range for investors.
Okay, but I was talking about
members.
Sorry to interrupt. The members. The amount of people, because I know you had investors, like I'm one member, because I had the members too.
Yeah. So the members. As far as members, it's about it's probably around 125, 130,000 members total. So about right now, about a 1/5 of our membership is investors, and the rest of them are free members.
Okay.
What I would say on the Betty White comment, and Terry, you should chime in. Like, I think every single person on this call agrees with you. And I know Terry been asking about it for years now. Betty White is definitely at the top of the list of people that we want to go to.
Anybody friends with her?
If anybody knows Betty White.
Betty White at the Cheesecake Factory, where I proceeded to accost her and tell her how much I loved her, and she was very sweet and gracious. But yeah, every time we have a part that would be right for her, she is on our list. It's just a matter of timing and getting all the planets to align in the right way. But we love her. She's a national treasure.
All right, thank you all. I just want to say that long-time investor. I think we either studied either the first or the second round, and I'm proud to be a member and an investor.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, we appreciate your support. You've been great. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. All right. Also, now I'm recognizing your name from social media. I see you pop up on my phone all the time, honestly. I was like, oh my gosh, Eitan Lacone. Okay, awesome. So we have one last question from Jeff Hagland. I'm going to allow you to unmute yourself. How is it going?
Howdy, y'all. Greetings from chilly Chicago. I want to second that emotion on getting Betty White. I think that'd be a phenomenal thing to be able to do to document her her life and legacy and her contributions to entertainment over 99 years. Who knows? It could be 100 years by the time we get around to it, but I think that'd be pretty cool. And I kind of had some of my stuff we're waiting, so I can wait for some of those answers offline. But one thing that kind of jumped out at me was the possibility of expanding Film Scout beyond Sundance into other festivals, particularly some of the niche festivals, because I know one of the questions that came up a few times and has come up previously in social media is diversity and representation on the Legion M team and in the projects we're supporting. And I feel like some of those, I'm thinking just LGBT film festivals would be such great opportunities to, one, show the ability of Film Scout as a platform to work in different scale environments, but also it kind of adds value to Film Scout as its own almost standalone product that Legion M has created, and potentially something that we could license out to other entities that are looking for data research or collecting, packaging, and reselling some of that data from Film Scout to Hollywood or marketing companies or someone who wants to do more research into the world of entertainment. Really,
I think it's a great idea. Yeah, I mean, we'd love to do Film Scout because it is a platform, and so we've been using it at Sundance specifically to try and find a film to get involved with. But I think that you're right. Like, it's something that could be applicable to a lot of other film festivals, as well as just general, like we've talked about, like, oh, well, what if we just had Film Scouts, like, every week there's new trailers coming out, and what if we could all, collectively build a game around that as a way to, even if it's not a way for us to find a film, but a way to generate data that has immense value. Like, one of the things that we've learned is that in Hollywood, the sort of data that they use to drive decisions oftentimes boils down to things like phone calls to people with landlines. Like, it's crazy that, this is the sort of state of the art when it comes to data. They'll call people up and say, hey, have you heard of this movie? What movies are you interested in seeing? Just kind of like general poll questions. And that's a valid kind of source of data today in Hollywood. And so the Scout represents something really unique, and we'd like to do more with it. We've also talked about using it even with other mediums like comic books and stuff like that. So we would definitely love to do it.
It's got such potential, I think, and it is cross media potential, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of my dreams with Scout is to, really get Apple to lean in on it and help promote the app, and then, in a almost kind of like a barter, where, if they help us get more people participating, we'll share the data with their acquisitions team, and maybe even do some deals together. So that's something that, we've got it on their radar. And, last year they were very much aware of kind of what we were doing with the app. And, as we continue to demonstrate its value, like, I mean, we're 2 for 2 with picks. where we've been able to basically predict, the Rotten Tomatoes score. And I think that's valuable. If we keep doing that, eventually, we'll either use it for our own benefit, or we'll have a lot of people that want to kind of partner with us to get access to it. So
yeah, even like co-branding it, and having at some point Legion M Film Scout as the official app of Sundance, or something like that. Those are all possibilities down the road.
Yeah, totally
So,
agree.
and I would happily work with a group of investors to beta test or pilot some of those alternate uses for Film Scout down the road. And then my last thing was just a comment. I am so thankful for everyone that brings this up as a question of the shares. I am so thankful we don't have one at the moment, because 2020 was a terrible year for a lot of people's investments in the traditional stock market. And I feel like the lack of a secondary market, or a very old school pen and paper secondary market for these kind of shares, is one thing that really insulated us from the volatility of 2020, and is one thing we can attribute to helping us keep on an upward trajectory, I think, or on a less downward trajectory than some other companies have done. Because as an AMC movie theater shareholder, I can tell you that it could have gone a lot worse in a lot of different ways. And thanks, guys, for everything.
Thank you, Jeff. Yeah, no, you bring up a good point. I mean, the reality is that like a company at our stage, to be, traded on an exchange, it's just way too early, because we're so, we're just a young company, I mean, it would be extremely rare for a company like us to, raise the amount of money that we've raised, and at the sort of level we're at, to all of a sudden be public, when we're kind of doing it with the Jobs Act. But we gotta pace that at the right point in time, and kind of hit that IPO when it really makes a difference, and we're not going to be vulnerable to things beyond our control.
Volatility. Yeah, completely agree.
All right, I know I saw in our text chat that there was someone maybe physically raising their hand. Is that Jim?
Jim, you are able to unmute if you have a question.
Yeah, hi. Excuse me. So,
sorry you had to have your hand raised that whole time.
it's balanced on the arm of my chair. So
oh, okay. There's a function in Zoom where you can raise your hand and then it'll just keep
I couldn't find it.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah, it's some of the I think it's the newest version of Zoom.
Oh, it
we
might
totally
be.
respect people that want to do it the old-fashioned way, Jim. Kudos.
So just to kind of circle back on something that was said earlier, I sent a question into legionm.com or team@legionm.com, and the person who responded was Jeff. And Jeff actually called me to talk about stockholder shares and all of that. So that was really cool. So I kind of have two questions here. First off is, and it pertains to even something we just touched on. I'm going to attend a virtual short film festival this weekend. I don't know if I can mention the name, but it's Horrible Imaginings does a really cool festival based out of Santa Ana. And although it's a horror-based festival, they will really go beyond that genre. And I'm wondering if it makes sense for Legion M, I know we're a production company, but to host a virtual shorts festival. Because some of these movies, some of them are clearly intended to be like, this is a pitch for our movie, but some of them are self-contained shorts that are really only meant to be seen as what they are. And when I see those, like, I'm not a filmmaker, but when I see those, my reaction is always like, God, I wish the whole world could see this. And does it, from a business standpoint, would it make sense for Legion M to get involved in that? And then the other question I have is really, it's about Mandy, which, was such a great thing. I'm wondering what the investment we put into Mandy was, and then what the ultimate return that we've seen on it, just to kind of illustrate that. And with Paul's discussion of the wheel, like if that could even be illustrated in terms of like how that worked with Mandy, that would be great.
Sure. So I can talk about Mandy if someone else wants to take the film fest.
I can take the film fest and just say, I love short films. I would love, we've talked about doing like a series of shorts, and, you know, shorts are such a unique brand or type of content because, you know, like you said, some of them are just intended as a holistic piece of art. But a lot of them are intended to be like, hey, this is what I want to do. And it's really cool. Like you think back, like Steven Spielberg has shorts, and, you know, Guillermo del Toro has shorts, and we would love to put together like an anthology series. We've talked about having like an online short film festival and doing like a film scout or pitch elevator sort of mechanic where people can submit and the Legion is the one that curates it. And, you know, potentially working with somebody like a Guillermo or a Steven Spielberg. But anyway, so there's nothing that we've done, nothing that we've committed to. I wholeheartedly agree, though. I think that would be epic.
Yeah, and if I could use Film Scout to then flag, like, this is a short that I think is super cool, that would be great.
Well, the coolest thing is if we did end up doing a film festival like that, and it was short with shorts, we could actually integrate it into or alongside of Film Scout so that you could be watching the movies, not just rating the description of the movie, but, you know, actually watching these shorts and you know, rating them. And that's probably what you meant.
I mean, that's how I think a Film Scout is. Like if you saw the movie, then you can really have an educated opinion about it.
Yeah. And that is part of our Film Scout as well. But to see the movie, you have to go to Sundance, you know. Historically. This year you can do it virtually, which I think is really cool. So to answer your question on Mandy, Jim, so we made an equity investment in Mandy back when, not before it started production, but like as it was nearing, you know, like they had shot most of the scenes and we're starting to put it together. We had wanted to invest prior to that, but we were still raising our capital and, you know, managing our funds. And SpectraVision, the team that produced the film, had kind of left a space open for us to participate. So we ended up investing before the movie was finished and all that. And, you know, part of our investment, we're recouping against the soundtrack. We're also recouping against the film, and we have the exclusive merch rights. And, you know, the amount of our investment, like the size of our investment, this was a couple years ago, you know, it's not millions of dollars. It was measured in hundreds of thousands of dollars. And what I would say is our recoupment on that project, you know, obviously is coming from, you know, the film being successful and that over time. But really a big part of it, especially in these early days while we're still kind of waiting for the film to, you know, produce enough revenue for the distributor to make their money and then start paying back into the CAMA. The merch has been just phenomenal for Legion M and for Mandy. And one of the things that I would say, like you asked about the flywheel, Mandy's a great example of a project that, you know, whenever we're evaluating projects, we always look at them in a couple different angles. You know, first and foremost, it's the financial decision. Are we going to make money from this project? Sometimes it's a strategic thing, but most of the time, you know, we want to make money from the project. And especially if we're putting our, you know, the funds that we're raising into the film. But one of the key attributes that we also look at is, can this film help us grow our community? And, you know, Mandy, as much as any film in our slate, has really done a lot for that, because that movie is still in the zeitgeist. People are still talking about it. And I would bet that there's a decent number of people that have invested in Legion M because they discovered us through watching Mandy, became a fan of the film, maybe bought some merch, and then heard about Legion M. And so that's a really key aspect for the projects that we're choosing. So we're really happy with our investment in Mandy. It's been great.
If I can speak to that a little bit, Paul, as well. So just so everyone here knows, I mean, you know, I've committed my life to licensed merchandising, and Mandy is an anomaly, you guys. I mean, I've said it once, I'll say it a million times. I have never seen a cult film such as this that has continued to increase in merch revenue and interest year over year over year. it's truly incredible. And I think it speaks to Nicolas Cage and his relevance in pop culture. I think it speaks to the artistry of the film, and of course, just all of our hard work to get the word out. But the opportunities that we have with merchandising and why it's such an important part of the Legion and business model is because when you look at things like Pokemon and Disney and all of the properties out there that we all know and love, one of the biggest revenue streams is always merchandising. And so that's why it is such an important focus for us, and such a important detail within our contribution to a film success, and why we put so much emphasis on it. And with Mandy specifically, I mean, we are, I personally think that we are scratching the surface. I think that there's even more opportunity out there. And again, there's things that are coming up that I cannot tell you about, but that property for me has been, it made my job really fun, because I get to do some really cool, unique things, and bring those to life, such as the cheddar goblin macaroni and cheese. That is a gift that keeps on giving. So
not a lot of people know this, but when Mandy signed on as an employee, she agreed that she would change her name to whatever generates the most merchandise revenue. And so the first year it was Mandy, second year it's still Mandy, and so she's really invested in keeping Mandy.
Next year it'll be Jay and Silent Bob.
It could be Jay and Silent Bob or Arch Enemy or whatever.
Yeah, so I recommended Mandy too. I belong to a film meetup group, and it's not a horror meetup group. I mean, we watch, and a lot of the people in the group actually don't like horror, but I got them to watch Mandy, and it, with one exception in the group, everyone was really surprised by it. Everyone really liked it. So it's the kind of movie where, and I became exposed to it via Shudder. But it's the kind of movie where when people see it, it's infectious. Like they'll start recommending it to other people. And I hadn't thought about it, but yeah, just with every movie property, the merch is really where ultimately you cash in.
Well, the thing is also, the cool thing about Mandy is that it's not straight horror. I mean,
yeah,
performance really, that movie helped invigorate his career.
Yeah.
Combination of that visuals, somebody like Panos Cosmatos had a very
he has a unique,
and there just wasn't anything like it.
Yeah, he has a unique style that he brings to films, and sometimes that turns people off. But for Mandy, I can't picture anyone else playing that role. And then also it's something that Jeff and I talked about. There's this almost like caricature that horror fans are, lonely fat guys like me. And that's just not the case. What I've found out via Twitter, and actually my, connection via Shudder, and really, Joe Bob Briggs fans, is that there are a ton of, it's a very, very diverse audience.
Absolutely.
I had no idea, but it turns out the majority of horror fans are women. And there's a lot of actually a lot of the people coming into the Twitter watch-alongs and things like that are married women. So it just in terms of thinking about properties like that, that's an audience that needs to be considered. And especially then when we're looking at script writers and directors, horror projects that are written and directed by women, would be more things like that would be really good.
Speaking to the choir, we agree 100,000%. And we, in fact, are looking at projects from women horror writers and directors.
Yeah.
And the great thing with those is that, like Blumhouse, if you get a $3 million budget out of Blumhouse, you're a hero in the horror community, because nobody spends money on horror movies, but they always look for, if you get a $20 million return on a $3 million movie, you've hit lotto. So those are movies where there's a lot of potential for return.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, it's also widely known that horror films are travel really well. They're very exportable, and horror is kind of a universal kind of emotion that we all share in any language. The other thing that I totally agree with you on, and we have an internal debate. Like, I mean, for us, we want to be investing in projects that our community wants us to invest in. And so, we use Impulse and we, get that feedback because we want, we're guided by you, right? And but one of the things that I think you hit on that I think is a really important element to take into consideration, horror, unlike most other genres, is communal. It has more probably, communities and clubs and watch groups and, dialogue than, say like drama or comedy probably do. It is the type of thing that people watch and want to engage and share and talk. And so I think it lends itself really well to kind of our Legion M kind of, our model and what we're trying to do. I appreciate you bringing that up. It's a really good point.
Yeah, one last thing. Well, and off of that, so last year when we could all go out and do things, Fangoria held an event on top of the Montalban Theater in Hollywood, and so it was this all-night film festival. It was really cool. But what surprised me was when I went there, it was like I found my tribe. It was without even knowing people that were there. It was just a really nice. So in terms of community and sharing and all of that, that's definitely true. The other thing, just kind of one last point is that in horror, I'm always interested in horror from other cultures. So that like we're seeing a resurgence now, or at least more of like Latinx horror, where they have different mythos, different legends, things like that, but they're still fun and there's still, great things to look at. Gigi Guerrero comes to mind as a director who's becoming really hot, and definitely, I think one of her quotes is like, "Yeah, this movie is going to be Mexican as hell." But she, and again, also being a woman director, writer, and one of her shorts that she did, that's it's on Shudder right now, but she made it in film school, and the school made a rule after that they didn't want people bringing blood into the studio because they really doused the place with fake blood when they really did it. More projects that are written and directed by women, more diversity in terms of content by people of color, also content that comes outside of the U.S., or at least with creative direction that's not necessarily American. And I think that applies into other things as well, in terms of like when we're looking at, superhero movies, are there cultural kinds of things that come outside of this sort of, Marvel-y universe that would be interesting for people to see. But thanks for the time, and thanks for letting me.
Thank you. And if you haven't already, check out Field Guide to Evil.
Awesome.
All right. Cool, guys. Well, we've answered a lot of questions, and we're so psyched to have been able to see you guys all in person, or well, at least, face to screen, screen to face. And hopefully we get to see you guys even sooner. There's a ton of speculation about different events that we might be able to go to on the horizon. So Paul, Jeff, Terry, David, Mandy, anyone else, do you have any final thoughts that you can leave us with
Just a final congratulations to Lori and Ewan, and thank you for your support. And then also just like a heartfelt appreciation to everybody in the community, everybody that's come to join our community, whether you've invested or not. You're a part of the Legion M family, and we're doing something audacious together, and onward and upward. We're more excited than ever about what's ahead. So
that's right. And farewell 2020, bring on 2021, baby. World domination.
Please remember, you can, if you have any questions for any of us, specifically or non-specifically, please, use Facebook. We are all in the Facebook group and we all look at it, watch it, and we love responding to you guys. It's the whole point of this amazing fandom company. So please let us know if you have more questions. We're always available.
And if you're not on Facebook, send us an email to team@LegionM. Or make a TikTok.
I was going to say, or follow us on TikTok.
Yeah.
And
create a Legion M TikTok for us and we'll respond to you. All questions need to be posed in the form of a TikTok. That's our new requirement.
Yes.
Awesome.
All right, everyone. Thank
All
you.
right,
guys.
everybody.
We'll be
Bye.
sending
Bye,
out a link to this.
everybody.
Yep, we'll be sending out a link to this video shortly, probably within the next day or so, and you'll be able to find it on our Facebook page as well as our YouTube page. And yeah, thank you so much. We appreciate it.
We might need to break it into a 5-part series and sell it to HBO. All right, see you guys.
Bye, everybody.
Bye all.